of Franklin County and the North Quabbin since the start of this year. And now the Greenfield Recorder reports LifePath and other Meals on Wheels providers across the state are sounding the alarm over a nearly $6 million budget deficit in funding for the senior nutrition program. The service is also struggling to meet a rising demand of those who are food insecure, while also grappling with the high cost of food as well as gas for deliveries. And the Worcester-based nonprofit Open Sky has raised more than $210,000 for LGBTQIA+ youth programs and honors 6 community advocates. The Worcester Guardian reports the organization held its annual Safe Homes Gala last month, which helps to advance equity, inclusion, and support for marginalized communities across Central Mass. According to Open Sky, proceeds also help fund educational programming, free mental health counseling, leadership development, weekly drop-in programs, a food and toiletry pantry, as well as recreational activities and emergency assistance, as well as services offered through the program's Transgender Resource Center. Red Sox try to avoid another sweep of a series today when they play Game 3 of their series with the Rays in the NBA Finals, San Antonio at New York tonight. 84 degrees in Boston. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Penn Medicine, committed to innovation, from groundbreaking discoveries to life-saving care. Penn Medicine is working to change lives, one moment, one treatment, one patient at a time. This is NPR.
Welcome to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Jim Brady and Marjorie Egan. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Senator Ed Markey is going to zoom in later in the show today. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse is going to zoom in as well tomorrow from Rhode Island, of course, the senator from Rhode Island. And we'll have Rachel Rollins' first interview tomorrow since she was forced out of her job as United States Attorney for Massachusetts, and since she announced that she was going to run again for her old job as the District Attorney of Suffolk County. Good morning, Jim.
Hey there, Marjorie. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
So apparently, is my mic on, by the way? I don't
Yes,
hear
I can
myself.
hear you.
Yeah, okay. Apparently, Governor Healy has had a change of heart on happy hour. In 2024, she told us right here on Boston Public Radio, she had real problems with repealing the ban, the 40-some-year ban, on reduced-price drinks. Do you support the concept of having happy hour again in the Commonwealth?
You know, I think there are problems with it, to be honest. But again, I'm going to look at, problems for restaurants and our hospitality industry, to be honest. So, look, in the scheme of things, what I'm really focused on is not happy hour.
But with the World Cup on its way, yesterday her position, let's say, evolved. Here's the governor on WEEI.
Can you ever see happy hour coming back?
Yeah, I am. I personally support happy hour. That said, it's like a local option, But, for me, it's especially I really want 20-somethings, 18 to 35-year-olds staying in Boston, staying in Massachusetts.
It's about competitiveness, she says, too. So the lines are open at 877-301-8970. Call or text. Are you on board with happy hour returning in Massachusetts? It's been banned since the 80s, and when there was a terrible accident. A Weymouth woman was killed, dragged beneath her car in Braintree, and Governor Dukakis said no more. Though you can find discounted meal deals at many restaurants across the city, buck-a-shuck oysters from 5 to 6, happy hour discounts on appetizers. I love those, by the way. What do you make of Healy's endorsement and the possibility of a return to happy hour? Will it help make Massachusetts a little more fun, a little more competitive, or do you think it's a bad idea? More drinking means more problems, whether you're a bar owner or just an average person like us. Give us a call or text, 877-301-8970. So, Marjorie Egan, where are you?
I think it's a totally different time. I think Uber and Lyft, the ride share has really changed things. And I think a lot of young people that tend to be the ones that take advantage of these happy hours are, if they're drinking too much, they're going to be, I hope, smart enough to take a ride share home. And also, when you're just out of college or in your first job, just squeaking by because you can't pay the rent here in Boston, happy hour is a great place to go. not just to drink, but to stuff yourself with food that's really discounted. You know, a lot of nachos, maybe you'll even get lucky and get some like Swedish meatballs or something like that.
Man.
You know, it doesn't get much better than that.
You don't have to drink for
chicken
Swedish
wings.
meatballs. You just go to IKEA and sit there all day
Well,
and shove those
you
babies
can
in.
do that too. But yeah, I think. You know, I know that some restaurants don't like it. They talk about a race to the bottom, that they're going to discount their drinks. But I mean, it was a great thing for a long time. That was a tragic accident. And don't forget, Michael Dukakis' brother. He lost his brother in a car accident.
No, I think it was the right decision for the time, actually, as you said before. But times have changed. By the way, under the proposal, should it happen, it would be a local option, meaning individual cities and towns would decide whether they want to allow happy hour, would mandate it. And, you know, while I'm always sympathetic to the plight of some restaurant owners and bars, they say, you know, the problem is that we don't want to do it because of legal responsibility and other things. It puts us at a competitive disadvantage. I'm not sure I'm persuaded by that, because anything another restaurant does or a bar does might put you at a competitive disadvantage. Just figure out how to deal with it. So, by the way, if there are restaurant owners and bar owners listening, we'd love to hear from you too. The number is 877-301-8970.
Didn't you go to happy hours when you were young?
Oh, yeah. When I moved here from Massachusetts, I went to Margarita Happy Hour at this joint in Cambridge. I can't remember the name. But they also, when it comes with the food, I mean, isn't the goal, well, at least for me, the goal was not really the drinking. The goal
some
was
of us were there for the booze,
to
and some
fill
of us were there
yourself
for the
up
food.
till you can't move, not because of the drink, but because of the food.
Yeah, I would say before the show, we used to go to the Park Plaza up by, it's not
Parker
House
by
up
the
by
State
Beacon
House,
Hill, right
yeah.
by the State House. You're up there, you know, going to the State House, doing a story about the report. You segue it right over to the Parker House. Oh, it was unbelievable. You could be there for the entire happy hour. It might be from 4 to 6, 5 to 7. You could be there for 2 hours, and you'd eat your whole dinner.
45 years ago?
Your
You weren't going there 45 years ago.
I was.
Dukakis outlawed this in 84.
84. Well, I was a young
83,
reporter.
you were there?
I was a young reporter in the 80s. Yeah.
How
for
many
the
drinks
Herald.
would you have during happy hour?
You know, you always paint me
No,
as such a
you're
lush,
the one
Jim.
that you brought up the subject matter. How many drinks would you have at the Parker House?
I probably would have
7 or 8.
not that many, because
No.
in those days there were no Uber or Lyft. But of course you could take the T then too, which is right there.
If you can find the tea, right?
Well,
After you have had 9 drinks.
Yeah, I mean, but people always complain about Boston being, you know, you go to New York City and it's a different situation because they're talking about being open late at night. But you go to a place like New York City or even Washington, D.C. Well, I shouldn't say Washington because I don't know much about Washington.
We'll say it anyway.
But New York City, I mean, it's vibrant. It's packed. Everybody's outside. This is a great time in the nice warm weather to be outside having some drinks and some nachos.
I'm with you.
I mean, come on, the super duper nachos. I mean, don't you love nachos?
Are you kidding me? I have bathed in nachos. I have filled the tub with nachos and jumped right in there, let me tell you.
And, you know, the other thing is, I mean, obviously there was a tragic situation back when that woman who was sitting on the hood of the car, I guess, she and her friend had been, they won these awards.
It's her friend who killed her, by the way.
Yeah, they had just gone, I think it was a ground round, and they were doing some contest, and they won extra beers or something. And, yeah, she was sitting on the hood, and the driver drove away, and she went underneath the car. It was horrible. But those kind of, what is the legislation by anecdote, that when one horrible thing
Government by anecdote, yeah. Ronald Reagan was essentially elevated that to an art form.
That's right. That doesn't make good legislation, I don't think, and I don't think it made good legislation in that case either. 877-301-8970. Should we bring back the happy hour? What do you think? Could you solve some of your budget food problems if you could get to happy hours 2 or 3 times a week and load up on all that? I mean, you can get your protein quotient at a happy hour, no problem, right?
Because of the food you're talking about.
Yeah, chicken
Can I tell you
wings.
something? You glossed over something I think is really important. As long as it's done with as many safeguards to make it as safe as possible, fun is a really important thing. And Healy said this on EEI yesterday. You know, what she said, the 20-year-olds, the 18 to 35-year-olds. Mayor Wu is going out of her way to try to make the city more appealing to young people so they don't leave the state either. And that's like it's an important and symbolic, a real world and symbolic thing. So I'm with Marjorie. I think we should do it. The number's 877-301-8970. 8970. Give us a buzz or a text.
A texter points out that there's been many reports about young people not drinking as much as they used to. And
That's true.
So they might just have a beer or maybe 2 beers and shove down all that food. So as this texter says, today's youth doesn't drink that much, so it could be a boon for food and socializing, and that is a good point too. And supposedly it's not because everybody's having edibles or weed. It's not really a transfer from booze to weed. Maybe it's just more a health
Well,
concerns.
I think it's a health thing. A lot of people are saying, drinking, even moderate drinking, the doctors are saying is not so fine. Peter in Mystic, Connecticut is not with us. He says, have you two gone insane? What's next? Smoking on planes. By the way, can you believe that in our lifetime you could smoke on a plane? And the theory was because the smokers were in the back, 6 rows, that you wouldn't be bothered by it? I mean, that is, no, we do not support that, Peter in Mystic.
Okay, let's go to Mary in Acton. Thank you for calling, Mary. What do you think?
Hi, Mary. Welcome.
Hi, long-time listener, second-time caller.
Thank you
for taking my call.
Thank you.
I grew up outside of Boston in a very Irish family. We had potatoes 6 days a week. And I'm not kidding. And the 7th day was baked beans.
Absolutely.
It's
great.
Potatoes, right?
Yeah.
But you didn't eat the skins necessarily. And it was 1981. I was in Buffalo at happy hour. And I turned to my boyfriend. I said, oh, my God, they're serving us garbage. Because it was potato skins without the potato. So, I've now come to learn the deliciousness of potato skins.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'll never forget
Fully
how
stuffed.
shocked I was.
Are we talking about potato skins? What are we talking about?
We're talking about potato skins.
We are?
Full of bacon and
Okay.
cheese.
Okay.
What'd you have in your potato skins, Mary? Bacon and cheese? Something else?
Well, at the time, I wouldn't eat it. I was like, that would never be at my house.
Sour cream.
But now you got to stuff them. Yeah, they're delicious.
Okay, let's get to happy hour. Where are you on happy hour there, Mary and Acton?
Okay, well, I think happy hour with potato skins works. If they're feeding you, all is well.
Well, I think that's important. By the way, that's a very important thing. I assume restaurateurs make that decision on their own, but it's really important if you're eating, you also get drunk less easily. Am I not right about that?
If you're eating?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing, that the appetizers have to be half price too. Mary, thanks for the call.
Well, that's the argument that
thanks for the potato skin insight.
You tend to eat more savory, not particularly good for you food when you've been drinking to absorb
You do?
the liquor. I think
Why
so.
savory?
Well, I don't know. Do you think about it, when you're drinking beers or you're drinking, a gin and tonic, you're necessarily going to have a sorbet, a fruit thing. You tend to have salty things, I think.
Now, I'm not accusing you of being a lush when I ask this question.
Yeah.
Have you not said on the air when you were working at Boston Magazine, all of you guys went out for martinis every day at lunch?
Not every day. No.
A lot.
No, at the end of the month.
Oh,
when
at the end of the month.
As you
They'll
say,
put the
you
magazine
say in the
to
business,
bed.
put the magazine to bed. We'd all go out for a nice long lunch. And that was when your expense account used to cover liquor, so it was a whole different time, They don't really like to cover liquor anymore. David and Wellesley, thank you for calling.
Hello, David.
How are you?
Good.
Fine, thank you.
I'm a bartender, have been off and on for 35, 40 years.
Great. And?
I went to Harvard School of Mixology
Wow.
years ago, graduated, got a job at the Steak and Sign in Newburyport, and worked happy hour and got my taste of alcoholism. I stopped drinking about 6 months after that. Then I was hit by a drunk driver.
Oh, my gosh.
Lost a couple discs in my back,
Oh.
head-on collision. Was the son of the fire chief of Salisbury, Massachusetts, was not arrested, never took responsibility for the problem. Subsequently, I've been hit 2 more times by drunk drivers.
My gosh.
This is a foolhardy effort. I was at the hearings in the 80s with mothers against drunk driving, sharing their stories about their dead kids, nephews, and relatives from drunk drivers. We have transformed this state from one of the top vehicular homicide states in the nation to the lowest as a result of those efforts.
That's not because of happy hour. With all due respect, David, particularly since you suffered, we used to have on our show pretty regularly a wonderful man by the name of Ron Bersani, whose granddaughter, Melanie Powell, was killed.
13 years old.
13 years old.
Broad daylight.
And he became a citizen lobbyist, one of the most admirable people I've ever met in my life. For years, he lobbied every legislator, and we made tougher laws in this state. But that's one of the primary reasons for reduction in drunk driving, not because Michael Dukakis abolished happy hour 40 years ago.
It's not just that. David, you mentioned the Mothers Against Drunk Driving. They changed the
right.
whole attitude. I mean, it used to be people would come in, to work and they joke about driving home when they were plowed and it was a ha, ha, ha. Then it became a shameful thing to admit that you did.
You're
so
totally
the whole
right.
attitude about getting in a car when you've been drinking, thanks to these groups, changed. So I think it's a totally different time about alcohol. Not to mention all the reports about alcohol being really bad for you too. The carcinogenic
But
kind of
I don't know
things.
what that noise is. David, thank you for your call. We respect your opinion, and we're sorry you lived through what you lived through. Thank you for your call. 877-301-8970. Tori in North Attleboro texts, after paying rent, my kids can barely afford to go out and enjoy Boston. This would help.
Well, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but I think it's really true.
What is the noise?
When you were young, that you can go out and get your dinner. You're not going to get necessarily a lot of vegetables at happy hour. You're not necessarily going to get a lot of fruit at happy hour, but you're going to get a lot of things like, nachos, chicken wings, potato skins.
I'm sorry, with all due respect, every time I go out drinking, I order crudité. That's
What
right. Is crudité? Is crudité
I don't know.
like chopped up carrots and celery sticks?
Yeah, it's like when you dip it in a sauce, you
Yeah.
celery and things.
Yeah.
That's not happy hour food, but
Yeah.
that's not going to fill you up. This is an opportunity to get all that stuff in you so you're not hungry when you're at happy hour.
You know, we should have asked that
What?
guy who had horrible interactions with drunk drivers, the gentleman who was the bartender, is, the laws around what you can do and liability for
they're
people
much
who work
different
in
now.
bars. No, they're tough. And if the volume of drinking goes up dramatically, which is inarguable, right? If it turns out we do happy hour, that does put an extra big-time burden on staff people who work in these joints, right? Doesn't it?
You mean to worry about people that are
Yeah,
drinking too
exactly.
much? Yeah, I think, alcoholism is a terrible thing. People that have drinking problems is a terrible thing. We
I'm
all
not
know
talking
that.
about alcoholism.
But the vast majority of people are not alcoholics, and the vast majority of people can get on
I'm not an alcoholic. You're not an alcoholic. Have you ever been too drunk to drive? I have been. You don't have to be an alcoholic.
I would say once.
When was that?
Like when I was very young.
What'd you do?
I didn't drive.
Were you
Jim.
underage?
No, I was like 22 or
She
something.
was, I think she was underage.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we learned from Ron Bersani. People who are chronic drinkers
done
and
it once.
alcoholic, you've probably driven drunk 100 times. Most people don't drive drunk, and the thing about Uber and Lyft is changed things dramatically. Anyway, Sean in West Roxbury says, happy hour is usually popular in New York City. The bars are packed. Boston has a reputation for being anti-fun. Bring back happy hour, and Uber is a game changer, and I think that's really true.
The problem is I agree with that. Not everybody can afford Lyft and Uber, though, is another whole thing, right? It's not cheap.
Then you don't get sauced. I mean, I think we're acting as if the attitudes about liquor are the same now in 2026
right.
as they were in 1980, when
You're
it was
right.
a big joke to drive drunk.
Right.
When everybody thought you'd have these contests and see how much you could drink this person under the table, that under the table. No, we always talk about how, red wine was great, it's going to be a health thing. Now people know that liquor's bad for you in almost every circumstance, and that you have Uber and Lyft to take you home when you've not been drinking. And Mothers Against Drunk Driving are commended for making the attitudes about driving drunk shameful instead of some joke at the water cooler on Monday morning.
Alex in Watertown, you're next on BPR. Welcome to the show. Hi. Alex, say something.
Oh, he disappeared.
Alex hung up. Is something I said? Ellen in the car, don't hang up on me. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
So I don't think it's a horrible idea, but happy hour used to be for restaurants that they would have, it was kind of during the lull in the shift change, and it would be like 4 to 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
And now people don't get out of work until 6 o'clock at night, and that's if they're even in the office. So what are you going to have it from 6 to 8? And that runs into their dinner. So I don't know how logistically it sets up for the restaurants, but
maybe someone
at the
should
same
show up
time,
to
the other
work
thing I
from
would
time
say-
to time, Ellen. How about that?
Well,
that is
Ellen,
true. Well, I mean, it's the earlier time that they were
I
out
know.
there,
I'm
seems
kidding.
to me if you're working
just
from home,
anecdotally about the younger kids drinking.
Yeah.
From the kids that I hang out with, one of the big things that has turned kids off from drinking
is that they're around their middle-aged parents so much, and they hate seeing them drunk. And it's turned them off completely to acting like that.
I think that is a brilliant analysis, and I totally agree with it. Ellen, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think you ever want to
call.
see your mother or your father drunk.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're drunk around your children, you probably should address that issue too.
You probably
right?
should. Now, here's an anonymous texter. Maybe you can speak to this,
Yeah.
Marjorie. Wow. You guys started the show without bashing Trump. Did someone give Jim a head transplant? If not, can we schedule one for him?
Yeah, we said
How about that?
we said we needed a break in the Trump action for today. We're going to talk about Trump a little bit more in the show, but not right now. Let's go to Adam in Ashfield. What do you think, Adam?
Hello, Adam.
My name is Tom, and I'm in Nashville.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I'm a career bartender. I worked for 22 years in New York City. I'll just say right now that happy hour doesn't do anything for the worker. We don't make more tips. More people get drunk, but nobody drives in New York. I think the issue here is an infrastructure issue in Boston. There's not a reliable public transport, and you're basically relying on people driving.
Can I tell you something? You are a genius, whatever your name is. That's the important point about the New York City comparison. I know,
Yeah,
Tom, I'm kidding.
driving.
Comparison is nobody drives in New York City. That is a really valuable point. So, Adam, one more question. One of the things we've heard in the past, not so much today when we've discussed this, is bar owners say, well, if my town adopts the local option and the restaurant or the bar down the block decides to have happy hour and I don't, my place is going to be screwed. I'm going to be at a real competitive disadvantage. Is that legit or no?
Yeah, I think it is legit, but again, I don't think anybody's doing anybody favors with a happy hour. And I'll also say, as an alcoholic who is now sober, I prefer serving alcoholics than people who don't drink regularly during happy hour because the people who drink regularly know how to handle themselves at 5 p.m., whereas the people who don't get wasted.
Tom, that was a spectacular phone call.
That was a very good
you.
phone call, but I still think the driving thing is different now. I mean, the T does function in Boston. It is open open until midnight. The happy hours earlier in the day, and I do think more people take Uber and Lyft. And if it's a money thing, you bunch up together and you take an Uber or Lyft.
But his point is not. I agree with you. His point, though, is not illegitimate about. I agree with you. Driving habits are different. The shame is everywhere, very different. But it is true in New York City, nobody drives.
See, I see it as a thing about it not coming from the point of people being alcoholics, or coming from the point of if you're 22 years old, it is fun, it is cheaper, it's affordable, and it solves a lot of your food problem.
That's what Healy said
That's what I'm
yesterday.
thinking about. Going out, especially now, you can be outside at a bar, sitting outside with a drink and a couple of appetizers, and not go broke.
So Alex hung up on me, but now she's back. Hello, Alex
Hi,
in
Alex.
Watertown. How are you?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, I'm kidding.
about
Go
that.
ahead. It's fine. What's up?
Jim, I agree with you 50% of the time, Marjorie 100% of the time. However,
Go ahead.
you guys, you are so off. I love nachos. I absolutely love margaritas, but it only takes one drunk driver, and there are still people. We don't need any more people on the road, whether they're in the train or the bus. Have you ever been to a Fenway Park? There are plenty of people who could still be in an accident. So sorry, we don't need to promote in any way, shape, or form drinking and driving, even in an Uber. So,
Alex, why do you only agree with me half the time?
Well, you're a white man.
I'm a white man. That is accurate.
So, Alex,
I am a white
how
man.
were you drunk
Thank
driving when you were in an Uber?
Quickly.
No, I'm not. No, I know, but I just feel for the Uber drivers who everyone's throwing up on.
Well, that's a problem. That is an issue. No, that is an issue too. Alex,
We
thank
are
you. I'm glad
forgetting
you called
here
back.
that young people are drinking less and less, not more and more. So I think we'll have to worry about fewer intoxicated young people because, for whatever reason, I don't think we know why they're drinking less. Do we know why?
I think health, I think you said, is a big
It's
part
not.
of this.
I thought it was a switch to edibles, but apparently that's not the reason.
Jamie
anyway.
just said in my ear, Ozempic is another reason.
Oh, Ozempic! My
Very good
God, I
point.
forgot about that. That's right. People eat less and drink less, and then they lose all that weight because they're on Ozempic, which is nice for people. Anyway, coming up for this quick break, we're going to talk about national security expert Juliette Kayyem on the war, the World Cup, and her new Substack. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Brady. This is BPR, GBH, and NEPM live for the BPL, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
It's time for the 2026 World Cup, and GBH News is following every moment. The culture, the crowds, the controversies. We're covering everything that comes when the world lands in Massachusetts.
It'll be a very, very expensive vacation.
It's like the ultimate form of bragging rights. You have bragging rights for 4 years. 4 friggin' years.
Get all the info at gbhnews.org/World Cup.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Rockport Music. The Rockport Chamber Music Festival, now running through mid-July, features violinist Augustin Hadelich, the Brentano Quartet, violinist Joshua Bell, and more. Details at rockportmusic.org. And Dean and Hamilton with Compass Real Estate, representing buyers and sellers in Cohasset. Sponsor of the South Shore Art Center's 71st Annual Festival on Cohasset Common, June 19th through 21st. More at deanandhamilton.com.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browley. We're live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Senator Markey zooms into our show at roughly 12:30 today. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse from Rhode Island will zoom in on tomorrow's show. And Rachel Rollins, an interview with Rachel Rollins, her first in quite a while. She has declared her candidacy for the same Suffolk DA seat that she had in the past. As you know, she went on to be U.S. Attorney, was forced to resign after a couple of investigations. She's running again. Tomorrow, you will hear from her. Joined now at the library desk by national security expert Juliette Kayyem. Juliette is a former Assistant Secretary for Homeland Security under President Obama, faculty chair of the Homeland Security Program at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, and CNN senior national security analyst, and, as you'll hear in a few minutes, the woman behind a brand new Substack called Early Warning. Hello, Juliette.
Hello.
Hello, Juliette Kayyem. Thank you for coming in. So everybody's concerned about getting out of this Iran war. The price of gas, price of everything is going up. But we don't really know what's going to happen. What is the state of affairs?
You know what's so amazing is, like, if I miss the news for 5 minutes, maybe we're at peace, maybe we're at war.
Exactly
I will say, I mean, part of that is because we don't know what the purpose, and therefore we don't know what the end game is. Up until this weekend, when there was a downing of the Iranians downed, but they survived 2 soldiers. It looked like we might have a peace deal, as we often do on the weekends. Trump then said he was going to do something. He did do something. There were bombings, and we don't know where we are right now. This is a very interesting looking peace, if it is peace, or and at the same time, we're hearing rumors from the administration and reporting in the New York Times that there are continuing discussions about the nuclear deal and whether the Trump administration can get something better than what they abandoned when they abandoned the Obama administration's
It looks very
plan.
similar to
Very similar. There's some differences, including basically closing down all the facilities, which the Obama administration could never get. Also, and the other one, which I really like, is the idea of sort of no notice visits, so that you don't have this whole buildup that the IEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, is going to go look at this and give the Iranians warning and stuff. So that that would seem to me to be good. The plan, as we understand it from the New York Times reporting, is the Trump administration's wish list of the Iranians. What we don't know is it takes 2 to tango. What does the other party want? And can you get it in time or fast enough to head off all the consequences that we're seeing because of the war?
Well, we also don't know if the
ceasefire?
foreign affairs guy who's negotiating, according to the New York Times, has the commitment of his superiors. You know, let me just say, the one piece of good, the bad news is, can I use the word, since the governor said this the other day to us, when we asked her about the war, she referred to him as an incompetent fool. He is an incompetent and a fool. And I would say that's true.
Weren't you there?
Yesterday, she was sort of, but just in body only. Let me just say two things. Yesterday, a deal was imminent, 2 or 3 days away.
Yes.
Today, because, quote, they're negotiating too slowly, he threatens them again with a bombing, acting as if that's going to change their behavior. Yeah. He does this every day.
Yeah, it doesn't change. It doesn't change their behavior. And now he, is talking about the reflecting pool. So the idea that this is sort of front and center for how he views his role as the president. We are at war. I mean, they can call it whatever they want. Is belied by where he spends most of his time, which is on architecture.
But the plus that you mentioned, I want to reiterate, because we keep saying every day we have no idea, nor does anybody we speak to. The New York Times reported as fact that those were the 4 issues in the negotiations over the nuclear issue. Not that Trump says, not that Iran says, but factual reporting. So the good news is the two sides are actually negotiating over one of the 2 things that matters most, the other thing being reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
Yes.
So maybe...
Yeah, we just don't know if these things are linked. Are they preconditioned on each other? Or do we have to resolve the nuclear thing? Can I just do a little caveat on that? I read that story as the White House now has a nuclear strategy, like in the sense of they now know what they want, which we haven't known what they want for a while. I did not read that as this is what Iran is willing to negotiate. No,
but they're negotiating over these issues.
That is right.
I think the words the New York Times used were a hazy outline. Hazy outlines
what is
of an accord. It sounded a little hazy.
Well, considering that an outline generally is, hazy. Outline for,
Okay, so you are, what was the name of that book, Security Mom? Or
Security Mom, The Devil Never Sleeps. There's a couple in between.
Security Mom, thank you very much. Speaking of security, is the World Cup like one of the great security risks ever? What is it, 48 games on 48 different days? I mean, 48 teams, games, whatever. Tons of games in 3 countries.
3 countries.
At a time when the United States is not exactly beloved.
Multiple. Yes, that is right. Yes, it is, and I have a piece of this. So I'm in terms of World Cup starts tomorrow. So the way
what do you mean you have a piece of this? Who
I'm helping.
For?
Yes,
who are you working
I can't
for?
say. I'm helping.
I'm
not going to anyway. Let's just go back to the security aspects of this. The good news on the security front is, one, everything is knowable. So we know we have weather, we know we have guns, we know we have terrorism. Or I guess there's 3 things. Most things will impact most things will be relevant in the 6-week period because they're always relevant in the 6-week period for the United States. So most of it is not FIFA directed. The third thing just to remember is nothing is being built for the World Cup. All of these are stadiums that have extensive and deep safety and security planning. Now, the vibe may be different. The world focus obviously will be different. This is the most watched event, not even sporting event, in the world ever. Like 1 in every 1.4 people that are alive will sort of watch a piece of it.
A lot of dead people too.
Yeah, exactly, and they're voting right after that. And but so there's this what we call the security aspects. One of the biggest challenges is, of course, drones, because that's hard to regulate and they can cause a lot of havoc. So most of these. Most of the planning has no-fly zones, but also ways to disrupt any sort of drone or drone swarm. So those are the security features, and I was just on a phone call for work that Mexico City has the opening. It's advising people arrive 6 hours early at 7 a.m.
My God.
And they'll have breakfast available. Like literally, that's because they have to close down large areas around it. Mexico City has been having a series of protests, and each of our cities here is going to have something similar. I just saw Los Angeles there was going to potentially be a strike that was resolved. So there's going to be lots of blips throughout the 6 weeks. The big issue that we're hearing now is obviously the geopolitical immigration issue, which is just absurd.
Well, it seems I did a little half-assed survey last night. The odds, if you're a player, of being cavity searched are increased dramatically if you're a black soccer player.
Yeah.
The odds of you being referee of the year last year and being banned from the country
100%.
increase if you're a black referee from Africa. I mean, is anything we've read about increased security, or is it purely part of Trump's, I don't like people who don't look like me?
I cannot figure out what's going on. I mean, it's bad, and it's inconsistent with what FIFA's policies in the past.
Right.
So you can talk about FIFA in terms of sort of, not demanding of the Trump administration what it would demand of other countries that we're hosting, which is essentially when you're a country and you bid for the World Cup, you make representations that everyone will be invited. The biggest issue, of course, has been the Iranians, of which my thought is if we were really winning this war, we wouldn't be going after the Iranian team. We are forcing them, not only did they have visa issues, and parts of their team are not able to travel, management side, we are forcing them to fly, to stay in Mexico City, fly in the morning of their match, and leave that night. They are not given overnight visa privileges. That's just saying, would you like to lose your match, right? Like, professional teams do not travel on the day of. Then there's the specific instances of people who have their visas. So this refugee, oh my God, the referee, not the refugee, the referee had a valid visa. He arrives here, they hold him, detain him, question him, and then he's sent back. And when you say the number one, he's like a household name. I'm forgetting his name.
They say he's the most famous, accomplished
and
referee in the world.
ironically, known for de-escalating field aggression, like in terms of calming players down. I had thought that the Trump administration would do everything possible to make this successful because Trump likes sports, he likes events, he likes FIFA. I thought, you hear of one incident and you think, oh, okay, maybe, you don't know the thing. It's a little bit too consistent for my liking, and I think bodes interestingly for the Olympics in 2028. Trump will still be president for the LA Olympics.
I have to ask you this question. It was posed by our colleague, Jamie. In light of the fact that you chose not to disclose who your client was, are you in the running for the second annual FIFA Peace Prize?
I am.
You are.
I could be. I'm good at de-escalating.
That's beautiful.
I only don't say it because it's just like it gets confusing.
Just say there's no conflict with what you said.
There's absolutely no. I've been going on CNN for the same reason.
Okay.
So, are the Canadians doing this in terms of teams coming into their country for their games?
But I will say Canada does not. I mean, neither. Like, this is a North America World Cup, but like Mexico has I don't know, an eighth of the matches. I think Canada only has 2 or 4.
Yeah.
But this thing will be a U.S. World Cup in 2 weeks.
Right. Once we get to the later rounds, every match is played in the United
everything.
States.
And you're just going to have Kansas City and San Francisco.
So I'm just asking that we're putting entry-level requirements on athletes and fans, and
that we have
made
representations both when we got the bid, but also more recently. We had made representations that so long as the players, including players that are from countries that are now banned of traveling here, got visas beforehand, they would be allowed entry. What you're seeing is either the searches, which include cavity searches, or the denial of this referee.
So, Juliette,
well, isn't that a big problem when you're having the World Cup and you're not letting players on the teams into the country?
Do you think it's a problem describing some countries as asshole countries,
I guess
letting white South Africans come into the country?
I just don't know.
It's part of his whole deal.
Yeah, I know, but this makes us look really.
I am more surprised than maybe I should be. Look, this is going to be a wildly successful World Cup, and how do I know that?
It is
because once this happens in every event I'm involved in, once the matches begin, there's going to be a lot of focus on the unity. There's a whole bunch of fun stuff going on in terms of the watch parties, and I think you're going to start to feel a vibe. And I also think that the sort of operation, safety, security, all of that is resolved and in place. But
you read about the tickets at the Meadowlands.
That's what I'm saying. Is that then the
$8,000 to $57,000.
Look at the Knicks tickets. I mean, it's just these events are
they're not that bad. The Knicks tickets aren't that
Are
high.
you
It was
kidding?
$4,700 was the get-in price for Game 3 in New York City.
Yeah. I mean, the Knicks.
Well, this is
the Knicks- I had heard-
8,000 to
I had heard a high.
57,000.
I mean, I had heard like the
No,
average
it was cut
like,
in half the day before. It was
Yeah.
$9,000 went
Yeah,
down to 40.
maybe
But that was
that's-
Game 3. Wait till they get closer to the
Tonight, right?
Well, tonight is Game 4, but
Yeah.
there has to be a Game 5. We're talking to Juliette Kayyem. So can you clue
their
us in?
sports reporter.
You are as entrepreneurial as any national security person, like in history. I just want to say that as a compliment, I think.
Thank you.
What's your new Substack thing?
Oh,
When's it happening?
thank you. I think we just put it up now.
Oh.
I contribute to the Atlantic. I have lots of ties, including our weekly event. But I had reserved a Substack like 3 years ago, and it like just lay dormant. I sort of thought this thing is interesting. I have finished some big writing projects, including a new. Afterword for The Devil Never Sleeps, so a new version's coming out at the end of this year. But I also thought like this would be sort of fun to have something that I actually own, and so we're launching it actually right now. I think the first it's you can get on for free, and I'll start doing a weekly newsletter, and I mean part of it is just. If I have a value add to this crazy world, is that I help people hopefully process and understand.
Well, give us an example.
The
Like,
events.
what's the first one about?
So I think the first one is going to be about what is happening with FIFA and what does it mean for the implications, the bigger implications for what it means for the United States to be a host country in the years ahead. Because I think this is going to have decades-long impact, regardless of who the president is.
How do you subscribe to this thing?
Thank you. How
You're
do
welcome.
I subscribe?
Oh my
Early
God.
warning. I had to write it.
This is pathetic.
Early warning.
Really sad.
With Juliette. Okay, early warning with Juliette.substack.com. I'll start it next week, but I would love to get you all engaged. And basically, it's about what's happening now and what it tells us about what's coming next, which
And by
is
the way, when you're
hopefully
saying
what I
early
can
warning
do.
with Juliette, you might want to spell your name because there's two different spells.
Juliette.
This is the worst promotion of a new
Can we
effort
start all
in
over?
the history of the
I'm
show.
bad at promotion. Do you know how hard it was for me to even email your team and say, "Hey guys, I'm starting this thing. It's going to start next week, but I don't see you next week." So that's why I'm promoting.
We're almost out of time here, but I'm wondering. Give me a hint. It seems to me this is not making the United States look good as a home venue for these games.
And it's going to have impact
Or
for tourism,
the
travel,
Olympics and
all but not just mega events. All the metrics of 10% of our GDP.
This is another Trump
tourism.
screw up.
Yeah, and unnecessary. Can I do that again? Early warning with Juliette.
Early warning with Juliette.
Do you know how hard? I'm not seeing you next week.
I know.
Anyway, next week I will be.
We'll survive.
At a match.
You will? You're what game?
San
you going
Francisco next week.
Oh my God! I mean, really, she is going to get the FIFA Peace Prize. She is.
Juliette Kayyem
Goodbye,
is former
Juliette.
Assistant
Bye,
Secretary
you
for Homeland
guys. See you
Security.
later. Have a great week.
Under President Barack Obama, faculty chair of the
Juliette.
Homeland Security Program at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, CNN's senior national security analyst. Her new Substack, Early Warning with Juliette Kayyem. Now, she said it was Early Warning with Juliette. Early Warning, forget the Kayyem. The first issue launches
She has
next
no
week.
idea.
Substack at Early Warning with Juliette.substack.com. Gary Mitchell, owner of the legendary SNS Daily, which just closed. He's with us up next.
I'm Jared Bowen. Today on The Culture Show, Veronica Robles brings Latin America to Symphony Hall. The mariachi singer and founder of the Veronica Robles Cultural Center previews Viva Latino America 2026. And Lisa Simmons joins us with a preview of Rock's Film, New England's largest festival for films by, for, and about people of color, at a time when their stories are being deliberately sidelined. That and more on The Culture Show today at 2 on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Revision Energy, a renewable energy company building and servicing solar, batteries, and air source heat pumps for local homes and businesses for over 20 years. Revision Energy. Revision your power. More at revisionenergy.com.
And New England Recovery Center, providing inpatient addiction treatment in state-of-the-art facilities located in Westboro, Mass. Learn more at newenglandrecoverycenter.org or by calling 1-877-MY-REHAB.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, who is eating boneless SNS wings as we speak. I'm Jim Browdy, live from the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Senator Markey is going to join us in about 45 minutes on Zoom. Tomorrow, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse will join us at noon, as will Rachel Rollins. Will be sharing an interview we've done with the new candidate for her old job, Suffolk County DA. And as you know, she stepped down several years ago from the job as U.S. Attorney. We'll discuss that with her as well. 107 years ago, Rebecca Ma Edelstein founded SNS Deli in Emmons Square in Cambridge. She would greet customers with SNS, Yiddish for eat and eat. Well, last Sunday, the eating ended as Ma Edelstein's great-grandchildren, Gary Mitchell and Amy Baum, served meals at SNS for the last time. For the last 40 years, I've been eating there, as has everybody I know. BPR producer Nicole Garcia, GBH photographer Dan Lang, and I went to SNS on that last day, spoke to owners Gary and Amy and their families, longtime staff, and of course customers. Here are just a few customers who came by for their final SNS meal. You'll hear spectacular little 7-year-old Nova, a woman from Western Mass, we forgot to get her name, then Sharon at the counter, and another guy named Jim. Here it is.
SNS is closing and I really love this place.
Why do you love it so much?
Because it makes the best food.
I'm here because this is such an institution. It feels very sad, very emotional. I've been coming here since I was a little girl with my grandparents. Calling in to get the last order was very sad.
You ready for me?
Yes.
I don't know. Where's Marjorie?
Where's Marjorie? That's all that guy cared about, Jim. Joining us now is Gary Mitchell. Gary, good to see you, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And I much enjoyed the boneless chicken. Let me tell you, it's absolutely delicious.
Boneless SNS wings. We don't call
Excuse me.
chicken.
Okay,
Margie, you know you've been in business 107 years. You can say whatever you want. We have earned the right.
That's right.
So I need to talk about Jim for a moment.
Oh,
Can
go
I?
right ahead.
So first of all, I was preparing for the show last night.
Uh-huh.
Jim said he was going to come to the SNS and interview me, and then I would come here and interview him.
Oh.
So, first of all, I fact-checked his resume. What a pedigree from UPenn.
Very impressive.
What are we doing here?
Very impressive.
Jim, be quiet.
Thank you.
So,
Okay.
now he's got a resume. It's missing 3 things.
What is it?
He may get terminated for this. Busboy, I didn't see on there. Waiter, and he was pushing knockoff Ozempic maybe 30 years ago to me.
Really?
People would come in the restaurant and say, just stare at me. And I said, why are you here? Well, Jim Brody sent me here. I lost 50 pounds.
Are we done with this yet?
No. I got one more second. So,
can we show the picture of a guy 50 pounds ago? We have that. That is the same human being with his sister. Now, look at Gary then. Look at Gary now.
I owe it all to Jim.
The show's over in like 2 hours.
You told me they were virility pills.
No, they were male enhancement. But Jim gave them to me. He ran out to the car, and I lost the 50 pounds.
Wow.
Never paid a royalty. Never, ever paid a royalty.
Do you remember we were hawking those on our old radio show?
No. So there's another show that competes with you, no names,
Yep.
begins with a W. They said they would pick me up, car service in Cambridge, take me out for lunch, an hour show, and pay a royalty. I'm still waiting for a royalty from this guy from 30 years ago.
Okay, Gary, thanks for being with us. We really appreciate it.
I don't know how
Come
you
back
put up with him,
sometime
Margie.
soon.
I think I like you more than I like him.
I'm going to get the FIFA Peace Prize.
Okay, why'd you close this place after 107 years?
No, one more fact check.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
He called it SNS Deli. Jim,
I
you
knew-
were there.
I
You
knew-
were
I knew
there
this was
Sunday.
a problem.
You saw it. It was SNS Restaurant, the heart and soul of Cambridge.
There you
Had
go.
nothing to do with the food.
Okay.
The people of Cambridge.
Why'd you close the place?
Why?
Yeah.
Because my time has come, Jim. I'd like to spend more time with my family, more time with my friends, and enjoy life.
I know that, but when 7 o'clock came, we were there when you opened in the morning, Nicole and Dan and I. When 7
Well, that's
o'clock
because
came,
you wanted a free breakfast. I told him, Margie, I
How
told him if
did
he
you
comes at 3 o'clock, we might run out of food. He
How'd you-
switched his appointment to 9 o'clock.
How'd you feel, seriously, how'd you feel at 7 o'clock when you locked the door, or 7:30, whenever the hell it was?
I felt our time had come, Jim. We served the community with great honor and integrity, and I wanted to do it on my terms. There is no side story. Jim's been asking me every time I see him, Gary, you going to tell me? Well, first of all, he asked me, is he my favorite customer? He asked me that 10 times, Margie. I finally said yes so I could get invited to the show.
So, but by the way, what Gary was trying to say is I've asked him 100 times what's next, and you haven't made a decision, even though you swore to me, you raised your right hand, there will not be another bank in
nail salon,
in
correct.
Inman Square. What are you looking at? What's in front of you?
Well, we received hundreds and thousands of letters, and in particular, these two touched a raw nerve. And should I read them, Jim?
Yes, you can read them.
So, dear Mr. Mitchell, and I can say the person's name?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. My name is Lucy Palmer Roth. I might start to cry. I'm a lifetime Cambridge resident and fan of the SNS. I was sorry to see that it will be closing soon, and unfortunately, I will be unable to get back there one last time. However, I want to share with you my experience of the restaurant and why it was a meaningful place to me. When I was 8 years old, I was treated for Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer. On the way home from my treatments, we would stop at the SNS and pick up blueberry pancakes. This was always something I looked forward to and greatly enjoyed during this super hard time, as it gave me a sense of normalcy when everything else seemed to be so out of the ordinary. When I finished treatment over 10 years ago, we got a large stack of blueberry pancakes, and it served as a symbol of the resilience that got me through this time. I'll always look back at the SNS lunches with a smile. Thank you for that. I wish you good luck on your future endeavors. Best, Lucy Palmer Roth, Cambridge, Windsor Latin, class of 25. So she couldn't be more than 20 years old.
Well, let me go the other
way. Everyone, there's cancer in everyone's family. At 8 years old, she felt this way.
Let me go. Nicole Garcia, who came with me on Sunday, had never been to SNS before. She just wrote me a note. It was my first time going to SNS on Sunday. Even I felt how loved it was by so many people. Even I will miss it. That was her first time the other day. That's pretty great. Read the other one quickly if you can.
Well, we've all seen the movie Harry Met Sally.
Yes.
So this is our version of
Let's not do that scene.
Easy, Jim.
Okay, thank you. Go
Margie,
ahead.
how do you work with him? Oh, my God.
Go ahead.
I just had to write and tell you very much you'll be missed. My now husband and I moved to Cambridge in 1997, and every big life decision was at the SNS. We decided to buy our house, get married, have a baby, have another baby.
Wow.
Our kids are now 19 and 17, have grown up with that mythology, and I'm so sad that they cannot carry it on. Perhaps they will carry the legacy on in whatever restaurant takes over the space, even if they can never truly take your place. All the best, some rest, fun, and retirement. Kate Whitfield.
Oh, my goodness, that's lovely. That's
Tony
lovely.
Gary Mitchell,
But
co-owner of SNS, which closed for the last time this past Sunday.
You know, maybe on a less inspirational note, Jim confessed to me that when he had his one term as a Cambridge City Councilor,
This is a disaster.
one of the things that was really outrageous is they used to serve food from the SNS deli behind the tables where the city councilors. And Jim used to go in with shopping bags and aluminum foil and take all the food home.
That really has nothing to do with
I thought that was
Thank
really
you.
outrageous.
We serviced the city council for 103 years, not the current group.
Yep.
I go, Dad, the bid says food for 12 people. Gary, these are all my friends. We sent food for 20 people. And we sent beverages for 30 and desserts for 30. And paper goods for 50.
Okay.
No caterer could understand how we got that business all these years.
Yeah.
It was my father's love for the city and for the people that work there.
Okay,
so Gary, did you see Jim carrying out these huge shopping bags?
That's not what we're here to talk
The
about.
Cambridge Chronicle came and wanted to know what each city councilor ordered.
Yeah, what did you order?
That I'm going to disclose.
What did you order?
Tomorrow. Now, let me just tell you something. I actually, who's in charge of this interview?
Jim.
You or me? I'm okay.
Turkey Club
one of the
on
things.
Iggy's whole
God.
wheat bread.
Turkey Club.
His
one of the
daughters
things,
and free cookies.
Okay, one of the things I love about SNS
$3.95
are the people who've worked there forever.
Okay.
We got to interview a lot of staff, including twins, Rachel and Julie, and this wonderful woman at the bar, Chandra. Here's what they had to say. You two know each other? You look a lot alike, do you?
Twins.
Twins?
Twins.
How long you worked here?
23 years.
How long you worked here?
23 years.
Wait, you started at the same time?
We did. I started from the deli takeout. You know, I was just a girl in takeout working in high school, and then I had the opportunity to become all the way up to a manager, 30 years doing catering. I always joke around and say I'm the owner without the bills.
You know, by the way, there are some great people, and I mean this totally seriously. When I asked every staff person with whom I spoke on Sunday, I said, what are you going to do next? They said, I don't know. I think that's almost heartbreaking in some ways, isn't it? I mean,
Jim, quite honestly, I didn't realize what we meant to the community. And the last month, Jim, you were there. Jim snuck in the back door. He saw the
with his shopping bag.
No, he saw the 250 people in the front, canceled the 3 o'clock show, came at 9 o'clock in the morning, snuck in, got his breakfast, and then he left. He left with the TV crew. I asked the TV man if there was film in the camera, because I said, no radio show has film. But at any rate,
Gary's going to be in the Catskills on Thursday night. Try the veal. Right, go ahead.
We did not realize how beloved we were. And it is the most humbling experience in my life. I can't believe it. I started 4 in the morning. My wife is here. She would tell you, just to serve this community. For a year and a half, we have not raised our prices. All you hear, affordability, high prices or whatever, we would rather serve the community than raise our prices.
You know, you haven't told us the food. You haven't told us what was the we get the boneless. What am I supposed to call
S&S wings.
But what else did you serve?
Oh, please. My wife and I, we went to New York to Katz's. Cost us $400 on the Excella. Round trip, that was $800. Cab fare, 2 sandwiches, $40 a piece. $1,000 to get some deli in New York. People come to the S&S. They get a Reuben sandwich. It's $15.
There you go.
They can come all month for $15, so they enjoy it. Bostonians, aren't New Yorkers. This isn't a tourist area. They're regular people that come every day. And we serve the city, and we serve the people of Cambridge for 107 years. And they came that day, Jim saw it, to show their love. So now I'm thinking, Jim wants to know, what are we doing? Well, when you've been in business 107 years, you're in rush for nothing. So we'll try to figure this out. And if there's a way to keep it going, I just might.
Whoa.
I just might.
What, is this Clover Part 2? Wait a second.
No. We didn't run out of money.
No,
Jim.
wait a
Don't worry about
second.
this.
This may not be the end?
It's the end, but if I can find somebody else that I could help or a big family that would like to do it, I would seriously consider.
Is something in the works?
No.
You surprised me. After we turned off the camera on Sunday and then we turned it back on, you said there was at least a small project that you have committed to in terms of S&S. Explain what that is.
Well, Jim, it was top secret, and all he wants to know is the dirt. Gary, I meet him in a supermarket all the time.
Market basket, you can say it.
Easy, Jim. He's always too busy when I ask him a question.
Of course.
When he wants my attention,
yeah, it's a different
let's
story.
sit down and kibitz, Gary.
Yeah.
I try to call him, Gary, next Tuesday between 2:03 and 2:05. That's Jim Browdy. Jim, can I talk to you? I'm busy.
What are you doing? Tell him what you told me.
So there is really a cult following for this S&S sauce. So we are going to announce shortly that we're going to have an S&S food truck with all of our favorites and the sauce.
Oh.
And I'd like to do something for the community and give back and hire some special needs kids to work with us. And I'm looking forward to doing it. I told my wife I think I could be with her 24 hours a day. She questioned that a little bit.
She's shaking her head right now. Look at her. She's saying no.
She says, Gary, I need a lot of training.
Gary, running out of time. Big celebration on Sunday. What are you doing on Sunday? You have to be invited to this, baby.
Jim,
what is it?
The city, not you and not the old guard, but the new guard is not really helping us. So, Yep. Jim knows all about this. So we're really confined to the back of the restaurant, and we plan on thanking everyone for our 107 years.
And
okay, all these city councilors that got all the food for all these years, they couldn't do you a favor?
Did you hear we stopped,
You stopped.
at 104?
You stopped at 104. What's wrong with them over there?
Jim would
Well, no, that's not fair. Wait, that's not fair. The
vegans.
city council voted 9-0 to do what you wanted, to open up the street or close down the street. And there's a disagreement with the city manager as to what. But the celebration continues, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and what do you? I mean, I think you're in denial, if I may. And I don't mean this. This is
Margie,
no joke.
how do you listen to this?
No,
all
there's
day?
no joke attached to this. When you spoke as lovingly of the customers, of the staff, of the restaurant, how many generations? Are you the fourth generation?
Fourth generation.
4 generations. Come next Monday, other than the food truck, which is fabulous, unless you strike some deal with somebody. You started working there when you were 12.
Correct.
You don't think you're going to feel a huge hole in your life?
Jim, I've never gone out for lunch in my life. Call me up. We'll go out for lunch.
Between 2:03 and 2:05.
Yeah, on a
he's
Tuesday,
available.
next Tuesday.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's available for lunch. Really quick, why is it called the S&S Deli?
Jim has said that. Essen and Essen in German or Yiddish my great-grandmother came to this country, and that's how she greeted her people. Does not Schwartz...
Because it means...
S&S, eat and eat.
Eat and eat. So it's eat and eat, and then that's how it became S&S.
Gary, for people who've been there, one of the other great things about the restaurant, beyond the feeling and the food and the whatever, the whole experience...
Jim, that's everything.
No, it's not everything. You have photographs on the walls. One photo, which you'll see... By the way, we should say, we did a YouTube thing that Nicole and others are working on. It'll be up soon, which is a more expanded thing of our Sunday visit. We'll let you know when it goes up. There are these beautiful photographs from your great-grandmother to what Inman Square was like 75 years ago. Where are they all going to go?
Right now, they're going to stay there. I'm hoping that someone will come and buy our brand or that I can help it. Everybody wants some of the artwork. I thought I'd give it to the Historical Commission.
That's great.
And each piece, you saw that man we talked to for a half hour, wanted that one off the wall. If it has a lot of meaning to people, I don't want their money. I'll be glad to give it to them.
By the way, let me tell you something, Gary. You've said 3 times now, if we cut a deal with somebody, obviously something's in the works, and you're just not, I mean, it's obvious.
No.
Everybody knows this.
No.
Is there a deal in the works? I'm talking to his wife. Is there a deal? Raise your right hand and tell me there's no deal. Okay, well, then I trust her. Gary, and also...
I'm still waiting. We're not talking about the diet pills?
This has been a huge part. I gave you a lot of diet pills. You lost 50 pounds. You owe me.
Okay.
No, you owe me.
By the way, you've been a huge part of my family's life, the community's life. We wish you luck, and we can't wait till Sunday.
Gary Mitchell,
thank you very much.
Owner of the now closed, we think, S&S Deli in Cambridge. Thank you so much.
Enjoy the wings.
We're going to enjoy the wings. Thanks to those of you listening up on NEPM, the fabulous 413 at 3 o'clock this afternoon. We're going to keep going here in Boston after this quick break. Get your thoughts on the prevalence of artificial intelligence in your daily lives, and how worried are you about a data center coming into your backyard? I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Brady. Listen to BPR, GBH, and NEPM live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
GBH is committed to lifelong learning, and the Beacon Circle shares that commitment with gifts of $2,400 or more. It's one big way to help keep our community informed and connected. Learn more at gbh.org/Beacon Circle.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And MIT Sloan Executive Education, offering over 90 short courses that pair MIT research with hands-on frameworks designed to be applied immediately at work. More at executive.mit.edu. And Mass General Brigham. In heart surgery, expertise matters. Mass General Brigham Heart and Vascular Institute performs thousands of surgeries each year and is committed to research and innovation. massgeneralbrigham.org/heart.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News, what matters to you?
Welcome to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH. Jim Brady and Marjorie Egan live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Senator Ed Markey is going to zoom in around 12:35 today. Sheldon Whitehouse, the senator from Rhode Island, is with us tomorrow. Rachel Rollins, who was forced out of her job as U.S. Attorney, is announced that she's going to run for Suffolk County DA. Again, her previous job, her first interview since that happened, is going to take place tomorrow. We have a change of plans. We're going to talk about AI and data centers in a few minutes, but now we're going to talk about something else. Hello again, Jim. You can introduce it.
Yeah, we're going to give you an update on something that we've been talking about a lot on this show with the governor, with the mayor, with you. A question tentatively headed for the November ballot with a caveat, which will tell you, bringing back rent control to Massachusetts. Last week, housing advocates, the people behind the ballot question, and some developers agreed to a compromise, we hear, a bill, that gives cities and towns the option to adopt a specific kind of rent control instead of a statewide blanket rule. The catch, well, there are two. Beacon Hill lawmakers have to pass this relatively soon. And secondly, there's some developers who apparently are not on board. Advocates have made it clear that if there is no deal, they will press ahead with the ballot question. One of the developers mentioned in the Globe story as part of the compromise was HYM managing partner Tom O'Brien. He's been on our show before. He declined to join us for this conversation, and it appeared that he was not going to join us anytime soon about it. we were lucky enough to have Carolyn Chou, who's the Executive Director of Homes for All Massachusetts. That's the tenant coalition leading the rent control ballot question, to join us and give us an update. Carolyn, it's great to have you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We really
Carolyn,
appreciate
thanks
it.
a lot for coming in. So before we get to the ballot question, fill us in. What is this proposed compromise? What would it mean?
Yeah, so, we are a group. I represent tenant organizations across the state, and we're seeing people get 60%, 70%, 80% rent increases across the state. We're working with 100 seniors in Southbridge who are facing like an 80% rent increase right now. So this is what brought us here, right? And we know that Massachusetts tenants need stable and predictable rents to thrive. So we, have been in the State House for many years. We've had legislation on the table. And we knew that our folks can't wait as they face an ever-growing crisis. So we put forward the ballot question this fall. Last fall, and got 125,000 signatures in a grassroots effort. Through that legislative process this spring, we heard loud and clear from legislative leadership that they wanted us to try to come to an agreement, to a compromise with the real estate
Mayor
industry.
Wu said it right where you're standing, that she would reluctantly vote for the question. She thinks it's too strict, but she hopes that a compromise could be cut and the legislature pass it.
So we took that in earnest, right? And we put it out there at that after that March hearing that we were open to discussions. And there were some developers who, came to the table and started working with us to craft something that addresses their concerns and still provides tenants the, predictability we need. So that's what we've put forward. And we think this is a real opportunity for us to move forward with something that both, can work for the real estate industry and continue to give tenants the protections that our folks desperately need.
Well, what are the details, though? What does that mean? You just talked about 80% rents. I assume this compromise would bring those increases way down.
Yeah, so the compromise proposal we came to has a CPI plus 5 cap of 10 for any
What's
city
CPI?
or town that...
Consumer price.
Yeah,
Okay.
so inflation plus 10.
Yeah.
So that averages about 7 to 9% a year. The cap of 10 is for extraordinary circumstances. It exempts new construction for 15 years, which is up from our ballot question of 10, has some additional exemptions. And the big other thing that, is a big debate between the real estate industry and tenant advocacy groups is market reset. Basically, between tenants, how much can the rent increase? And so, we had really constructive conversations with industry partners saying, here's our concern. What we see is if the rent can increase astronomically between tenants, what incentivizes a landlord for not a bad actor in the space from trying to, evict that tenant simply to get more
With
money?
no cause except more money.
So we came to an agreement that if we can have strong eviction tenant protections, that we're willing to compromise on that market.
So let me, you glossed over two things that I think are central to the difference. The ballot question is a statewide mandate. Correct me if I'm wrong. And the proposed compromise is local option, exactly, again, like Mayor Wu and a number of cities have proposed. That's number one. If your community doesn't want it and doesn't vote to have it, you don't have it.
Though I would say the difference between some of the home rule petitions like you referenced is that this would be one model that towns would either opt into or not.
Understood.
Versus a patchwork.
But it's a local option.
They wouldn't need permission from the legislature.
Correct.
In other
And
words.
number two, without going into the numbers and giving people a headache, your cap on rent in the ballot question is much more strict than the cap you just described in this compromise. So the issue, as I said at the beginning, Carolyn Chou, is one, other developers apparently were not part of these negotiations, and I guess the legislature cares what they think. And two, the legislature historically, Marjorie mentions all the time, fabulous Globe piece showing how much property legislators own, historically has not been very open to rent control. What's the deal with both of those constituencies? Are the other developers considering this, and do you have any indication from the legislature that they're convincible?
What we know is that local developers, the people who live and work in our communities, are generally with us, whether that's, in public or, in private conversations. It's really the large national real estate investment trust, private equity in the housing market that is, that is most opposed to this. And, their opposition is not about the provisions of this policy, but really about what this means for the national context. And for us, this is really about what's going to work for the Commonwealth and for Massachusetts residents. And we believe, this is a real opportunity for the legislature to pass something that addresses both our need to build more housing and the desperate need for affordability.
Whether these national developers, as you call them, support it or not, you're saying, essentially. They should go ahead with this. Okay.
You mentioned right at the beginning something horrible, that senior citizens in Southbridge are facing 80% rent increases.
That's right.
So is this at one of these large developments in Southbridge?
Yeah, so this is 110 units in Southbridge. These are retired firefighters, teachers, everyday people. They contacted us not, out of an ideological position, but because they couldn't believe it was legal that a new landlord bought their building and they suddenly were seeing their rents.
Who is this big developer?
Someone in the region who saw an opportunity to flip this into workforce housing and make more money, leaving these seniors living on their fixed income.
You don't want to name them so we can name them on the radio?
There is an article in the Globe, and we're happy to share more. But I would just say this happens all across the state, not just in Boston and Somerville, but in places like Southbridge where, large developers and landlords with large portfolios are coming in and seeing an opportunity to flip properties. And we're just saying we need stability, right? We know that we need to build more housing and landlords need to make a profit, but that can't be on the backs of lack of predictability for tenants.
Okay, Carolyn Chou is the Executive Director of Homes for All Massachusetts, the leader of the group behind the ballot question. You didn't answer my question. What's the date you have to submit the second batch of signatures? What is that date?
July 1.
So if the legislature doesn't pass something by July 1, you would go ahead and submit those signatures and it'd be on the ballot. Is that correct?
Yes.
What indications do you have, if any, that the legislature is open to any compromise on this?
We believe this is a real opportunity.
Yeah, I know, but you've heard from I don't mean to cut you off, but the issue is not what you and others feel is fair. The issue is the legislature has a history of not giving a damn about tenants. Is there any indication from any of the leadership that they're taking this seriously?
Yeah, we've been having positive conversations, and we know that we've moved a large coalition really far. Not everyone in our coalition is totally happy with where this compromise has ended up, but I think this is a real good faith effort for everyone to hear each other and to have come to the table and done something that really addresses both our concerns and the real estate industry's concerns, and is a real model for how we can come together and do policy here in the state.
So if people support the compromise, or whatever your position is on the compromise, there are roughly 6 weeks for the legislature to act. They should obviously call their legislators and ask them to deal with this. Will you continue to give us updates in the next 6 weeks?
I would love to.
We'd love you. I mean, this is a really important question. Polling shows you're way ahead, but as someone who used to do ballot campaigns, the other side's got a ton of money, and that can cause the numbers to drop precipitously.
And we've seen their ads all over TV already.
Nonstop, yeah.
But what we say is that, unlike some of those other ballot questions, in an open field, voters are talking about affordability and housing.
True.
So this is a different ballgame than, some of those other questions we've heard about.
And by the way, we were contacted by some of the leaders who are not crazy about this. Didn't you say this at our staff meeting this morning? I thought you did. And if they want to join us to explain why this is a bad deal, of course they are welcome. And we'll have them, so you'll hear. It's great to meet you, Carolyn. Good luck. Stay in touch with us. Be well.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming in. We've been speaking with Carolyn Chou, Executive Director of Homes for All Massachusetts, a tenant coalition leading the rent-controlled ballot question campaign, leading the rent-controlled ballot campaign, I should say. Thank you very much, Carolyn, for coming in.
Thanks, Carolyn. Appreciate your time.
We're going back to what we were going to talk about before, but I just want to mention we have a nice note from our colleague, Cambridge girl, Callie Crossley, who says she had to stop herself from crying at the closing of the S&S Deli. She loved that place. She can't believe the owner didn't know how much people did love the place. That was Gary. We just spoke with him. Said she had to wait a long time to get in on that last day. Everybody was in mourning while we waited to be seated. It was community and good food. So there you go. The imprimatur. Is that how you say it? Imprimatur, Jim? Jim doesn't hear me. Okay. On S&S from Callie Crossley. We're going to talk about AI coming up. Data centers want to sprout up all over Massachusetts. How do you feel about that? And how are you feeling about AI? 877-301-8970. You're listening to Boston Public Radio at the Boston Public Library.
I'm I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Today on the Curiosity Desk, with summer around the corner, we hope you're able to take a little time off for yourself. Something I struggle with, and maybe you do too, actually relaxing when we're on vacation. Turns out there's a lesson in leisure to be learned from the mighty gorilla. That plus ask the bike repair experts your calls and texts. That's the Curiosity Desk, today at 1 on GBH 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you
and the Massachusetts Educational Financing Authority, committed to simplifying college planning for families over 45 years with trusted guidance, interactive tools, step-by-step videos, and more. MEFA.org. And Modern Pest Services, providing integrated pest management for Boston homes and businesses. Modern Pest uses a prevention-first approach to seasonal pests to help target the source of the problem. Learn more at modernpest.com.
Welcome back to BPR on 89.7 GBH. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Before I get to the topic at hand that we're going to talk to you about, Callie Crossley texted us after...
I just read it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
On the air?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. My headphone was off. My apologies. So if you Google, do you avoid AI in your daily life, the first response that pops up is Google's proprietary AI itself, Gemini, telling you it can't avoid AI because it is AI and it doesn't, quote, eat, sleep, or socialize. Increasingly, it seems like neither do humans in the traditional sense, two human brains interacting just with their human brains without the augmentation of large language models, prompts, video and photo editing, etc. All of which to say is AI, as you know, is everywhere. Gemini is built into every Google app. AI prompts are on social media like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Elon Musk's Grok has more or less taken over X, and all those AI searches run through data centers, which I was stunned by this number in the Globe. There are 44, some are small, already located in Massachusetts, and there could be more soon. So the lines are open at 877-301-8970. Call or text. Are you worried about all the data centers, the energy they consume, the water they need to cool things down? How are you balancing the infiltration of AI prompts? Do you allow the autofill prompts to respond to your loved ones, even if you get a ping of guilt every time you hit send, without crafting your own human message? Or are you trying to reclaim some of your brain power, opting out of AI as much as possible for the sake of the environment and maybe your own humanity? The number is 877-301-8970. I guess there are two questions. One, how you feel about these data centers that are popping up all over the place. By the way, in Utah, one is proposed that is 2 times the size of Manhattan in Utah. And secondly, are you trying, maybe unsuccessfully, to opt out of using AI in your daily life?
Well, you know, I said this to you before. I can't believe that this is happening.
Which?
That these data centers are going up all over the place, and we know that they're going to use massive amounts of fossil fuel because we can't have any wind farms under Donald Trump, take massive amounts of water, cause all these problems in these cities and towns where they're going to. And everybody's just supposed to say, okay, let's come right in. We talked about this last week. This place up in Lowell, this is Hiawatha Brave's got a great piece in the Globe. He calls it this ominous black cube of corrugated concrete towers 4 stories high. And when you look at the picture, it's right behind this lovely street of, they look like 2 families or just lovely houses. They look like they're 100 years old. And this big thing is looming there. And the neighbors talk about how there's all these diesel generators spewing all this gunky stuff into the air, and that they have all this mist coming off the top of the building, which winds up spraying them in their driveways. And they're just supposed to be fine about this. I mean, Bernie Sanders, once again, Bernie Sanders says there should be a moratorium on any more of these data centers, which 7 in 10 Americans do not want in their backyards, slow them down until we have more of a handle on what these are all about. It's just, you know, when you read about all these AI companies now going in and they're going to have their, big IOPs, is that what they call them?
IPOs, we call them.
Got it backwards. IPOs, and become $1 trillion companies or close to that. I mean, it's kind of like, are we just a bunch of suckers here? I mean,
well, you know, the Democrats in Congress, we're going to speak to one in about 15 minutes, Ed Markey, apparently have a piece of legislation, maybe it's Sanders, to ban or at least provide a moratorium
Yes, it's
on
Sanders.
construction. Is it Sanders of all these data centers?
Bernie Sanders to stop or slow down data center development. More than 140 activist groups in 24 states are aiding this group as well. I mean, on the bright side, they're going to give you a lot of tax revenue. I mean, they will pay
and
a lot of taxes
to
the town.
Unions are very
and a ton of
supportive
jobs.
of this.
But again, I mean, the pollution problems here and the deprivation of towns of their water and people skyrocketing electric bills. That's what that's going to mean.
Well, it's interesting you say that because when we asked Maura Healey about this, we've actually asked her about 2 months in a row. Here's what she had to say during a recent visit about data centers in Massachusetts.
Data centers can't suck all the energy off the grid away from all of us. So they've got to find a way to generate their own power and not affect what's already on the grid.
Meaning their need for power shouldn't cause your electric bills to go up. But you would add one thing to what the governor says and says the source of their power should not be fossil fuels. You think there should be legislation in the State House in Washington saying it's got to be renewable energy that provides the power for these operations.
And by the way, we're all paying $4.50 at the gas pumps now. I mean, maybe it's time to think about how long do we want to be held hostage by crises in the Middle East, which seem to come very...
We don't have to worry because he just invested $700 million in coal plants the other day. So that'd be the president of the United States.
I think most of us want clean air and clean water. We don't want to breathe in the coal dust.
Let's take some calls. Annie, I think you're in Cranston. Welcome to the show. Ann, I'm sorry. I got both things wrong. Hello.
That's okay. I answered to both. Thank you for taking my call.
Pleasure.
I retired. I'm retired. So fortunately, I'm not required to use AI during work because I don't work. And I have several friends who work at very large companies that are required to use AI, and the companies track them. I don't use the prompts when I'm doing Gmail. I don't use the prompts when I'm texting, or I try not to use the prompts when I'm searching. I have a real problem with the environmental costs, with the pollution, with the fact that water is a finite resource, and we don't have enough of it to satisfy their requirements. And then there's the whole energy component. I do like Marjorie's suggestion that they be required to power themselves with renewables. That's a great idea.
Ann, thank you much for your call. We appreciate it.
Listen to this. This is from Amber in Worcester. My hometown of Luther, Oklahoma had a meeting set for a proposed data center from Beltline Holdings, and then they had to cancel it because too many residents showed up to protest it. And Stephen Gloucester points out that the data center in Laurel is actually, he's right, housed in the former Prince Spaghetti factory. Remember Anthony? Those ads?
One of the issues is there are a lot of cities and towns. I mean, you've mentioned this. The Globe stories mention it. That are considering or either voted for moratoriums in the state. Isn't this something that the legislature should deal with as a statewide issue rather than leaving every city and town to fend for itself?
I think it's a federal issue.
Well, that's fine, but obviously we're not going to get anywhere with Donald Trump and the Republicans.
That's the problem.
Well, we have all Democrats on Beacon Hill with a handful of exceptions and a Democratic governor. So why don't they address this thing head on and do it relatively quickly?
I don't have a lot of faith in our legislature.
Oh, you don't?
No, I don't.
Okay, the number's 877-301-8970.
You know something? In one of these stories from Gallup, it says that more people prefer nuclear power plants now than data centers. Because nuclear power plants, I mean, despite 3 Mile Island years ago, have been fairly safe compared to, and they're also probably needed for climate change.
Yeah.
So
there were a couple other places there were problems, not just 3 Mile Island.
There was Chernobyl, obviously, and the meltdown in Japan. That was horrible too.
Other than Chernobyl, no. But I agree that most people who we respect, who even some who were anti-nuclear power in the beginning, have changed their position. Maybe for just because it is so important that there be clean energy that the risk is smaller and maybe it's worth taking. Remember, we had Oliver Stone in, who made a movie about it, and a couple of years ago.
Well, a lot of people are thinking that in terms of climate change, because the risk of climate change is so immediate and on top of us, and we're not moving fast enough away from fossil fuels, that nuclear is at least a bridge kind of to when we do have more clean energy.
877-301-8970. Do you make any effort to avoid using AI in your work and personal life?
Well, I notice every time I Google something, a little AI thing comes up. So I'm using it in that sense, but I haven't got a ChatGPT account or a Gemini account or any of those other things yet.
Well, you know that Grok is built into my car,
yeah.
Unfortunately,
yeah.
and it is stunningly convenient. And I try to stop myself. Most times I reflexively just, start speaking an issue into the car. It's really hard. I mean, it's really hard. 877-301-8970. I don't know how to pronounce. I think it's Marie in Dover.
Mary or Marie?
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for taking my call.
What's your first name?
Mari.
Mari, I'm so sorry. I've gotten every name wrong. I'm sorry, Mari. Welcome to the show. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
So I just wanted to say that, there is a lot of things that we need to worry about AI, but if we stop as a country, so this is a technology that, has a promise to put our country forward. So we can't really just stop. It's going to keep going.
So where does that leave you? If it's going to keep going, meaning put some restraints on it so it's not out of control, is that where you end up? We lost you for like 5 seconds right in the middle. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, so basically we can put guardrails. We have to be mindful about how to regulate it, but it's not like we can stop it, because even if we stop, other countries are going to continue doing research.
Well, that's a good
point.
Well,
the problem is, and not to get back to Donald Trump once again, is he has been until recently totally opposed to any kind of regulation of AI. Now I think that there is more talk that especially when you have this guy from Anthropic saying he doesn't want to release some of his stuff because it's too dangerous. I mean, we talked about this yesterday, the day before, that we don't want to wait till there's some horrible disaster that happens and then we start regulating. We should be regulating it now, but it's kind of one of the crises I think we face as Americans, that we have these big looming issues and we're not preparing for them. You know who's preparing for them as usual?
China.
Europeans, too.
Okay, so here's Andrew in Dorchester. AI is a scourge. We don't want it. Instead of Gemini, I'll use Jim and Marjorie. Thank you. So
Thank you.
Here's
Thank
a good
you,
one. I love this one. Anonymous texter. Make the companies build the centers at their CEO's main residence property. I mean, that's, it's sort of like, NIMBY, not in my backyard. When you see that photograph that is
in
so
Lowell.
Haunting in Lowell.
Look it up. It's in
the
Globe.
One of the executives of the Merkley company that built that are going to want that in their neighborhood?
And they're going to want spray in their driveway and mist in their driveway, and the noise. The guy talks about, one of the guys in there just talks about the humming, the constant humming that he hears coming from this place. And he's kind of stuck because it's already there.
Let's go to
diesel generators on the roof.
Jordan in Somerville, welcome to the show, Jordan. Hi.
Hey, guys. First off, thanks for your show. Love the show and the banter. Keep it up.
Thank you a lot. We really appreciate it. What's up?
Cool. Just a little kind of side note on the AI, because I kind of felt stuck also as Marjorie was talking about using how Gemini and whatnot on the Google search bar is just sort of obligatory now.
Yeah.
If you just type in your question and whatever you want to say on Google, and then at the very end you kind of add in a little hyphen or a minus sign AI, it does not automatically generate that answer for you through AI.
I didn't know that.
Say that again? Please. Yeah. Tell me, Jordan.
Yeah, if you just type in your question or your statement, whatever you're asking Google, at the very end of that question or statement, you can put in a minus AI, and it will not automatically generate that question through AI for you.
Jamie just did exactly what you said and said it works beautifully.
Thank
Jordan,
you.
that is huge. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
How'd you find that out? How'd you find that out?
I'm going to be honest. AI is just the scourge of our earth right now, so I was doing my best not to use it. Luckily, my position, my career does not press it on me, so I went on Reddit and Reddit just has all the answers of all the world.
That's fabulous.
That's great.
Thanks
That's
for sharing
great.
it. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the AI thing does come up all the time, and then it says go deeper with AI down the bottom. But you don't know if it's reliable. Many times it's not reliable.
Let me ask you a question.
What?
If you had to guess, what time do you think you will call me or Jamie tonight to say, what did that woman Jordan say?
I got it.
How you do? You
Minus
do have
AI. That's easy to remember.
That's
Did
pretty
you try
good.
it, Jamie? Jamie tried it.
It worked.
It's working. Minus AI. Jordan, we're indebted to you.
It's fabulous.
Anonymous texter says, AI is unavoidable like microplastics. Grok is baked into X, Gemini into Google, Android phones, Copilot into everything of Microsoft. Siri will be Gemini soon. On Apple, resistance is futile.
That's
there
upbeat.
you go. We have to go out and lie down in the middle of the street and let it just run us over.
Josh in a car, you are next on BPR. Welcome to the show. Hey, turn the radio down.
Hey,
hi.
Thank you.
Sure.
First time, long time.
Thank you.
Okay, let me turn off this.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Perfect.
All right.
Excellent.
So first time, long time. Now I wanted to say that I really think there's another perspective to this. I worked for Oracle for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And we were part of a big layoff in the end of March to fund AI data centers. And they had already taken out a $20 billion bond to fund these data centers, and then the market didn't like that at all. So they got rid of a bunch of people, not because they were replacing those positions with AI, but because this needed the money to build these data centers. So it's just a spinning kind of a thing. People keep using AI, and they think the demand is there, and they can't meet the demand with the existing infrastructure. I do agree with the previous caller that there's no getting away from it. I recently listened to a podcast about 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what we can't do now? We can't unplug it.
Yeah. So where do you end up? What's the end of the sentence? What's the end of the thought there, Josh?
The thought is, I agree. If you don't want to use AI, you should try to avoid it. I love the minus AI
that was great.
moment.
That was great.
But I also think we should be putting in laws to ensure that the data centers are not using public resources, and they can use wind, solar, and other natural ways to power these things. In Texas, a lot of the data centers are powered by solar, but the water is a huge issue.
Well, Josh, there's actually a Democrat in the Senate who's joining us in about a minute, and we'll ask him where he thinks his colleagues may go on this. Josh, thanks for your thoughts and your call. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we are moving on to that gentleman in the Senate. Ed Markey is zooming in. He's going to be with us, our senator, here in just 2 seconds. Thanks for all your calls and texts on AI. And we're going to talk with Ed Markey, our senator, in just a second. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH, broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
When we look back at the American Revolution, we're not just looking at history. Each story reveals how a young democracy struggled with questions that still echo today. When we look at our past, we uncover what remains fragile now. Discover our series From Colony to Commonwealth at gbh.org/America250.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And PNC Bank, who believes when you pay attention to the details, amazing things can happen. Like when you check the pockets of a jacket you haven't worn since last fall and find $20. PNC Bank, brilliantly boring since 1865.
And New England Recovery Center, providing inpatient addiction treatment in state-of-the-art facilities located in Westboro, Mass. Learn more at newenglandrecoverycenter.org or by calling 1-877-MY-REHAB.
Welcome back to BPR and 89.7 GBH. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Tomorrow we'll be joined by, well, we'll actually play an interview we're doing this afternoon with Rachel Rollins, who, as you know, was the Suffolk DA. She was then became the U.S. Attorney from Massachusetts, was forced to resign. She is now running for her Suffolk DA seat, currently occupied by her successor, Kevin Hayden. We'll talk to her, first interview she's doing. And Senator Whitehouse from Rhode Island will also Zoom in. Speaking of senators, we're joined now on Zoom from Washington by Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey. Senator Markey is running for re-election. He is opposed in the Democratic primary by Congressman Seth Moulton. Senator Markey, it's good to see you. Thanks for your time.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
Senator Markey, thank you very much for joining us. You know, only because we just spent 20 minutes talking about this with our listeners who are nervous about AI, nervous about data centers. I know the president has been loath to regulate AI, but what, if anything, is, you know, you're down there in Congress, do you think could happen vis-a-vis both data centers and regulation of AI? Let's start with the data centers, because a lot of people in Massachusetts are very worried about them.
Well, obviously, AI is going to insinuate itself into every single aspect of American life. And we just have to make sure that AI stands for all included. And it's why, over the last 2.5 years, I've introduced 4 major pieces of legislation. Number one, the AI Civil Rights Act, endorsed by every major civil rights group in the United States. Because as AI continues to expand, we're seeing a migration of the discrimination that exists in the real world, in housing, in education, healthcare, in employment, all migrating over in these algorithms to this AI world that is unfolding. So introduced that piece of legislation. Introduced my AI and workers bill to make sure that AI cannot be used in a way that turns workers into robots, workers into nothing more than just extensions of machines. Introduced my AI and teenage and children's privacy bill, because as bad as it is today, without protections being put in place, it's going to be a devastating mental health impact on teenagers and children in our country. I've already been successful in passing a bill on the Senate floor just 8 weeks ago with Senator Cassidy in order to put those protections in place. And finally, AI in the environment. I've introduced that legislation over 2 years ago to ensure that there is 100% full disclosure of all of the impacts on the environment which AI will have. Data centers are already here. And I absolutely believe that the cities, that states, that towns, they have a right to create moratoriums if they want in order to protect against the most harmful impacts of this technology.
So it'd be a city by city kind of thing.
Yeah, I believe that every city, every town across our country, every state, they should have the right to be able to put a ban in place because they are already here. The impacts, the harms are already being felt right now, and all of these communities have a right to protect themselves immediately. Which is why I worked against Ted Cruz's attempt on the Senate floor last year to put a 10-year ban on any state or local regulations being put in place. So while we work on my AI Civil Rights Act, on my AI and Environment Act, on my AI and Children's, AI and Workers Bill, a lot of these communities are just going to need time. So that the federal government can pass the safeguards which are necessary on a national basis. We have to be good neighbors. We have to ensure that these communities get the protections which they need.
We're talking to Senator Ed Markey. Senator, every single day of, I think it's 102 days or thereabouts, whatever it is, in the war in Iran, we get a different story from Donald Trump. Yesterday, a deal was imminent, maybe 2 or 3 days. Today, they're, quote, taking too long in negotiations, so he threatens them again. Do you have any idea what's really going on in these negotiations? Do you know what the state of this war is?
I think it's very clear that Iran is not going to negotiate over the control of the Strait of Hormuz. They have it now. They're not giving it up. They now realize that that is the power which they have. And Donald Trump and our whole economy, they're basically right now in a position where they have to accept $100 a barrel oil for the rest of this year and maybe into eternity. Second, under the conditions that operate right now, I don't think they're going to give up their nuclear program. John Kerry, Barack Obama, they negotiated a great, verifiable, full-scope safeguards program over the nuclear program in Iran. I don't think that Iran's ever going to go back to them. And in terms of regime change, that's not going to happen either. So the problem that Trump has right now is that he keeps trying to calm the markets by saying, oh, we're only a couple of weeks away. And ultimately, they're not. This is not going to be resolved. And so the Iranians right now realize the power which they have, and ultimately we're going to wind up with them actually receiving compensation from the Trump administration, from funds which we control in a way that has never been something that he's been willing to talk about. And meanwhile, the war's been going on, like you're saying, for 102 days. There's $100 billion worth of taxpayer money that's been spent, $55 billion worth of energy costs that are now going through our system. Inflation is up 4.2%, according to today's report, and that's rippling right through the kitchen tables of every single person in our country. Gas prices are up, food prices are up, healthcare costs are up, grocery prices are up, everything is up, 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 and they're not going down. So Trump warned that he's willing to pay the price being over there, and he's not going to pay the price though. It's going to be the American people who pay the price. And meanwhile, he's saying that the federal government doesn't have the money for Medicare, Medicaid, for child care. So this formula is something that's going to ripple itself right into the election this year because of the fundamental harm that Americans are feeling across the board.
Senator Markey, when I hear the President of the United States talk about almost anything, but particularly the war, it reaffirms my non-expert position that he is not mentally competent. Most elected officials don't like talking about his mental health. Do you think the President of the United States is mentally competent to do this job?
My problem, first of all, I think that we should impeach Donald Trump. We should impeach him. What he's doing on an ongoing basis is impeachable, but just looking at him, it's all about him. It's all about his family. It's all about his corporations, his cronies. That's what it's always been. When he was making fun of the citizenship of Barack Obama 15, 20 years ago, what we have today is just an extension of that in terms of the detached from reality, deliberate insinuation of these issues into the American dialogue that have no tethering to reality. And so when he wants a $1.8 billion fund to pay off the KKK, Latter-day descendants, Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, the people who are in this building, injuring and killing 150 police officers. All of this is all meant ultimately, in my opinion, towards a very calculated plan to fix and rig the elections this fall. That's where I think it's all heading. It's all heading towards him now having the director of national intelligence, who's a mortgage guy, on board, talking about the elections. It's about the new attorney general, Blanche, saying that it'll be okay to put ice on the streets for the elections this year, because he knows that if the Democrats control the House and Senate, then we are going to do the investigations of this corruption, this all-you-can-eat buffet of corruption, which Trump has created in our country, and it's all to enrich him. So
Senator, you didn't speak
to how to enrich his family, and it comes at the expense of everything else in our society.
Briefly, if you can.
The commander-in-chief of corruption.
You didn't speak to his mental competence. Is that because you don't think it's an issue, or?
I'm looking at his actions.
Okay.
It's his actions,
okay,
which are, from my perspective, impeachable.
Okay.
He is now doing in public what Richard Nixon was doing in private, and that was impeachable. And he's doing it on steroids. So from my perspective, Trump should be impeached because he is in fundamental violation of the rule of law. And we have to, as soon as we win this election and control the House and Senate, begin those impeachment proceedings. Because it really doesn't make any difference. It's what you do that is impeachable, not what you're thinking. And what he is doing right now is fundamentally at odds with the whole history of our democracy and rule of law.
We're talking to Senator Ed Markey. There's hope now that Trump has become less popular, that Democrats might have a chance, not just in the House, but in the Senate this year. But in terms of ICE, Congress has already passed ICE funding. I think it's $70 billion, something like that.
70 on top of the earlier funding.
Yeah, another $70 billion. So that basically means that there's enough money for ICE, a lot of money for ICE, right through the end of President Trump's term. Is there anything that Congress can do about that or not?
Well, first of all, I believe we should abolish ICE. I actually have never supported ICE even in its creation. I opposed it. So from my perspective, that's the goal the Republicans have. $140 billion last year that was appropriated that they have not spent yet on ICE and other agencies. Now they want an additional $70 billion. Well, why do they want that? They want it ultimately in order, to continue this whole crusade of making America great again by making America hate again. But they need the ICE agents for the election suppression plan, which they are clearly putting into place. All that money could have gone to Medicaid. All that money could have gone to doubling the NIH budget. That's not their concern. Their concern, it was animated, let's be honest, it was animated by the SAVE Act that they were trying to pass to suppress the votes of minorities, of kids, of married women, because it's the Save Their Asses Act. They know what's coming. And so ICE is going to be a part of it. When the president says he could invoke the Insurrection Act, when he says he could activate the Army and the Marines, well, ICE agents are the ones that he's going to put out on the streets. And that's why he needs that funding.
Senator, you mentioned a minute ago, Marjorie mentioned it too, the possibility of the Democrats taking over the Senate. Most analysts believe that if that's to happen, that Susan Collins needs to lose to Graham Plattner. You were asked on CNN the other day if you supported Plattner, and you said you supported a lot of his policies. You wouldn't say whether you supported his candidacy or not. He is now the Democratic nominee. Does he have your support?
Yes. I endorse Graham Plattner. The road to taking over the majority for the Democrats goes through Maine. I support Graham Plattner. I support the agenda that he is running on. He's running on an affordability agenda, an accountability agenda, an anti-corruption agenda. He is running on an agenda that the American people want to see implemented. I support Graham Plattner. And not only in Maine, but in North Carolina, in Ohio, in Iowa, in Texas, with James Tallarico up in Alaska. We've got a chance, a very good chance of winning the Senate this year, but it goes through Maine. And that's why I support Graham Plattner, because he's running on the right issues. He's running on those kitchen table issues, those corruption issues that the voters of Maine and our country want to have provide.
You know, Senator, part of what he's appealed to the Maine voters, at least is what some of them have said, is there's a new generation of Democrats. That's part of the argument that Seth Moulton, who's running, the Congressman Seth Moulton, who's running against you for the Senate, is arguing that he's a newer generation and you've been in Congress for 50 years. So what's your rejoinder to that?
Well, again, it's not your age, it's the age of your ideas. And I've always been the youngest person in the room. My opponent actually trades stocks on businesses that appear before the committee that he serves on. in the House of Representatives. It's a personal self-enrichment program for him and for his family. I don't take corporate PAC money. He does. He says he does not support Medicare for all, that that's too high of a bar to create. I do support Medicare for all. He says that he believes that taxing billionaires is class warfare. I believe that taxing billionaires is ensuring that they pay their fair share in our country for the education, for the health care, for environmental protections for every American. So there are big differences between me and my opponent. And I'm going to be fighting for the ordinary families in our country. This fight brings out the Malden in me. My father was a truck driver. And I'm going to be fighting for all of those families who right now are just wondering how they're going to be struggling. And you just can't have people who are trading stocks for their own personal enrichment on those businesses that are coming before committees. I want to put the power in the hands of the people.
So, Senator, he's called you, Moulton has called you a terrific senator from Massachusetts. Doesn't sound like you think he's been a terrific congressman from Massachusetts.
Well, from my perspective, the generational change, which we need, won't be coming from the wealthiest people in our country. And it's my job to make sure that it's the workers' voices who are being heard. We can't just be satisfied with the status quo. We have to fight against this corruption, this authoritarian control, which is now extended itself over our country. We have to make sure that we give real shots for opportunity in our country, and it's not going to be driven by the private equity industry. It's going to be driven by ordinary families across our country.
Senator Markey, I have three very quick things to which I hope you'll give a quick response. Speaking of endorsements, you mentioned Plattner. You and Senator Warren were huge advocates for Rachel Rollins to take over as U.S. Attorney when she was nominated by Joe Biden. You know, she stepped down after 2 investigative reports said she'd made ethics violations. I'm interviewing her this afternoon. Do you support her candidacy to return as Suffolk DA?
I have not looked at that race, but and I will do so in the future. But at this time, I have not looked at that race.
How about staying in the justice system? Do you support expanding the number of people in the Supreme Court?
Yeah, I want to expand the number of members of the Supreme Court. The Republicans, Donald Trump, Mitch McConnell, they swiped 2 seats on the Supreme Court. And I believe they have to expand it by 4 seats up to 13. That's the legislation which I have introduced. And it's towards the goal of ensuring that we do not allow for this continuation of 6-3 votes on everything that is absolutely central to the well-being of American families. That's why I support the abolition of the filibuster and then the expansion of the Supreme Court, because we can't wait 20 years. We can't wait 25 years. In order to have a Supreme Court that actually reflects the values in our country. And that is something that I have been introducing as legislation and absolutely believe is essential to ensuring a true democracy in our country. And it's why we have to abolish the Electoral College, and why we need a constitutional amendment to abolish Citizens United as a decision in our country that's allowing for all of this dark money to flood into the politics of our nation.
We only have a minute left. Every single time you've been on for years, we bring up my favorite subject, a thing you've been sponsoring forever, which is year-round daylight saving time. Now that Donald Trump supports it as well, are you thinking of switching your position?
Well, even a broken clock is right. Once a day, and Even a blind squirrel bumps into an acorn once in a while.
Okay, fine, we got it. Does this have any chance?
On this one issue, we do agree that the sun is a good idea.
Okay.
Except he supports taking away the tax breaks for solar energy in our country, and I believe it's the solution. But in terms of daylight savings time and Americans having that daylight every day, so the corners of their mouths are turned upwards in enjoyment of daylight and sunshine. Yeah, I'm on board.
May you both succeed on that issue. Ed Markey, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Senator. That was Senator Ed Markey zooming in from Washington, D.C. We much appreciate his time. Thank you for listening to another edition of Boston Public Radio. And everybody who came down to the show at the Boston Public Library. Tomorrow.
Can I say something first?
What?
The YouTube video of the final day of Cambridge's S&S restaurant is now posted on YouTube, so check it out.
Okay, tomorrow.
gbhnews.org.
Tomorrow we're going to be joined by political commentator Chuck Todd, Mitchell Garabedian, who represented, I should say, many hundreds of children in these pre-sexual abuse victims. Rachel Rollins, who was forced from her job as U.S. Attorney after an ethics investigation. She now wants to run to reclaim her old position as District Attorney of Suffolk County. Her first interview since that announcement is going to be tomorrow. She joins us. Well, she's not going to join us. The interview is going to join us. I want to thank our crew, Zoe Matthews, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss, Ariana Gonzalez. Additional support from Jack Siciliano, our engineer, John LaClaw Parker, our executive producer, Jamie Bologna. Special thanks to our BPL staff, Maddie Geyer, Patrick Lally, Eddie Hickey, Juan Jose Cadena, our security team, Darius and Derek, and our hosts at the Newsfeed Cafe across the street, as well the guys at the Lenox Hotel. Stay tuned to the Curiosity Desk, which starts right after us, Edgar B. Hurd III here on 89.7 GBH, and the Culture Show with Jared Bowen starts at 2 o'clock, also live here from the Boston Public Library. 2 shows coming up right after us here at the Boston Public Library. I'm Marjorie Egan.
Jim Browdy. Curiosity Desk is not here.
Oh, it's not?
No, the
whoops.
Culture Show is here.
Thank you, Jim.
So stick around, have
what
a cup of coffee.
What would I do without you?
Jamie just told me. I had no idea. See you tomorrow.
Okay.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Okay, bye.
From the stories of centuries past to discoveries that will define our future, How Did We Get Here's, how-tos, and more. Journey with us down the rabbit hole on the Curiosity Desk. Coming up next on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Revision Energy, a renewable energy company building and servicing solar, batteries, and air source heat pumps for local homes and businesses for over 20 years. Revision Energy. Revision your power. More at revisionenergy.com. And the Cape Playhouse in Dennis Village, now playing Nat Zigri's Mozart to Pop Chart, a theatrical concert exploring and exploding musical traditions. Tickets for Mozart to Pop Chart at capeplayhouse.com.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Edgar B. Hurd III. Today on the Curiosity Desk, 50 years ago this month, there was a contentious debate at Cambridge City Hall over scientific research at Harvard and MIT, and fears around mutant life forms and experiments gone awry.
You made the statement there's no known dangerous organism has ever been produced by a recombinant DNA experiment.
Yes.
Now, just what the hell do you think you're going to do if you do produce one?
Well, I can put it in the sewer.
We learn how one local hearing changed the future of science everywhere. Then, with summer vacation season around the corner, can humans learn how to better kick back and relax from the mighty gorilla? And it's prime biking season. We've got a couple experts standing by for Ask the Bike Repair Expert. It's kind of like that other NPR show, where they talked about cars, only ours is about bikes. That's all ahead this hour on the Curiosity Desk.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump's signature seals $70 billion in funding to the Department of Homeland Security for ICE and Border Patrol operations. With a stroke of his pen today, Trump ended a 115-day standoff between Democrats and Republicans over immigration policy, intensified earlier this year when federal agents shot and killed 2 U.S. citizens in Minneapolis. At the White House today, Trump also took reporters' questions about the latest military strikes against Iran. Trump's threatened more attacks over Iran's refusal to meet U.S. demands for a peace deal and over Monday's downing of an Apache helicopter.
We're going to be attacking them very hard.
Resuming bombing?
Yeah, well, we are. Based on the helicopter, I guess we have the right to do that.
Iran responded to yesterday's U.S. strikes with retaliatory attacks against U.S. bases in Jordan, Bahrain, and Kuwait. NPR's Franco Ordonez has more.
Mona Yacoubian, a former State Department official who now works at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, says Trump was basically in a no-win situation.
If the U.S. doesn't respond, that will be portrayed as weakness. If, on the other hand, the U.S. responds as it should, that opens the way for further escalation.
It also makes it harder to reach a deal that the president had said earlier this week was potentially 2 or 3 days away. Franco Ordonez, NPR News.
War-related rising gas prices pushed inflation up last month to its highest level in 3 years. Government figures showing a 4.2% increase in consumer prices from May 2025 to May of this year. Prices have outpaced wages for several months. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates is appearing before members of the House Oversight Committee. The billionaire is facing questions behind closed doors about his relationship with the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. NPR's Ava Berger has details.
Lawmakers have said they are interested in Gates' years-long relationship with Epstein, if Gates knew anything about Epstein's crimes, and who else was in Epstein's orbit. Gates is mentioned hundreds of times in the Department of Justice's Epstein files. An email indicates that Gates traveled on Epstein's private plane, and there are photos of him with Epstein. Gates is one in a litany of connections the disgraced financier made with rich and powerful men. According to the released emails, Gates met with Epstein multiple times after Epstein's 2008 conviction for sex crimes that involved minors. Gates has denied seeing or participating in Epstein's crimes. Survivors of Epstein's abuse say they will continue to fight for justice as the investigation continues. Ava Berger, NPR News.
From Washington, this is NPR.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. The Trump administration has hired a critic of offshore wind as a staffer in the agency that regulates the industry. Megan Lapp has been involved in lawsuits against offshore wind, even appearing often on Fox News, where she claimed that the industry will, quote, destroy the planet. The New Bedford Light reports that it's unclear what Lapp's position is within the Bureau of Ocean and Emergency Management, but record requests suggest that she is, in fact, on staff. BOEM officials would not confirm her position nor when she started. Lapp's appointment isn't the first hire within the Bureau critical of offshore wind, but it has raised concerns about a conflict of interest. And if you find yourself on Cape Cod during the World Cup soccer matches, there are a few options for watch parties. The Cape Cod Times reports watch parties will be held at the Sandwich Taverna, whose bar has 11 TVs, most of which are 65 inches, and the dining room has a couple of TVs that are 80 inches. Also worth checking out are Dino's Sports Bar in Mashpee with some 30 TVs spread out throughout that bar. And the Lane's Bowl and Bistro, also in Mashpee, may be known for bowling, but during the World Cup, you'll be able to view all the soccer action while bowling thanks to the TVs that are located over the lanes. The Bistro has lots of TVs as well. Should note that this is the largest World Cup ever. 48 teams and over 100 matches scheduled. 87 degrees in Boston right now. Hazy, hot, and Henry. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance. Building a career is possible at Progressive Insurance, now offering virtual and hybrid employment opportunities with pathways for advancement. Learn more at careers.progressive.com.
Welcome to the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. Why don't you join us there? Now, with all due respect to the local governments of America, your average city council hearing is not going to be all that memorable 50 years later. However, in 1976, just across the river in Cambridge, Massachusetts, local politicians were in a state of panic over research at Harvard and MIT that they worried would lead to mutant catastrophes and violations against God. Here's a little from then Cambridge Mayor Alfred Vellucci.
I have made references to Frankenstein over the past week, and some people think this is all a big joke. That was my way of describing what happens when genes are put together in a new way. This is a deadly serious matter.
Of course, the worst fears did not materialize, that we know of, at least yet. But we did get Kendall Square out of it, and the COVID vaccine, and pretty much every...
says over and over again that the public wasn't informed. He talks about how he literally had chills going down his spine. He was concerned about this and what might happen if some of these bugs got out there. And he didn't know who to believe. You had Nobel Prize winners arguing against Nobel Prize winners. And the fact that the scientists didn't have kind of one unified position as he understood, then that's something that made this a matter of public interest and public concern.
And Luis, he proposed a ban on the research for 2 years, right?
That's right. Yeah, he was calling for a moratorium, even though the moratorium that had previously been called by the scientists themselves had been lifted because these new guidelines were in place. This is how you would get your laboratories designed and to do things safely and effectively. Harvard was applying to create this new laboratory that would fit those guidelines, and then it all kind of reopened up again. And so, yeah, he didn't want to have this work going on at all. And trying to understand what the science was not something that he had a whole lot of patience for. He would tell them, we don't understand your alphabet. Don't talk to us, with these letters for just explain to us. We are the laymen, but we're in charge here. We are a city of 100,000 people, and you have to, explain to us what it is that you think you're going to do.
As best as you can explain it to us, what was the work that was being done, and what was the fear in terms of what could go wrong with it?
Sure. So at this moment, the interesting thing that was called recombinant DNA research, and that we now think of as genetic engineering, was to move genes around from one species to another in the hope that you could produce some kind of useful products. And so some of the earliest things that came out were insulin and human growth hormone and interferon and blood clotting factors. So the idea that you could produce this stuff really cheaply and easily, this was the hope and the aim of this moment in time. But it was also often described by people in the moment of breaching species barriers, that this was not how nature had ever been. These are new organisms that had never been on the earth before. We don't know what's going to happen. And for a lot of folks in the mid-70s, the shadow of the atomic bomb was something that they were thinking about.
Sure.
A previous generation had done some work and then kind of regretted the world that they had brought about. And if one of these organisms escaped from the laboratory, did we know what would happen? And was it smart to be working in an organism that's also a resident of our gut, E. coli? And so these are the sorts of things that people would pick up on and wonder, is this a biological bomb waiting to go off? We should be really careful.
Yeah, and it's also happening. I think the mid-70s is strong back to nature movement, and nature knows best, and all of this, and the idea that we're going to be playing with nature in this way, I could see striking a chord of fear in any number of people.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other things going on at this time. We have Vietnam, we have Watergate, we have a sense of democracy in crisis. Some of these things might feel familiar.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that people were resonating with: the environmental crisis, pesticides, and anti-nuclear movement. So this kind of topic really kind of hit a lot of those concerns that were very popular at the moment.
I'm going to turn to Craig now. Craig LeMoult, as we're nearing the 50th anniversary of this, you've been working on a feature, on a story about this. You've been digging into this, and that includes talking with some of the people who are still around today that were a part of what was going on in the mid-1970s. Tell us a little bit. How did you get on this story?
That's right. Well, initially you heard from the folks from the MIT Museum who are working with Luis on this, and they told me about it. And I hadn't heard nothing about this. I was totally unaware of it. And I just thought it was so interesting because here's something, for me, here's a story that's about history. It's about science. Because of this theatrical performance, it's about the arts. I can bring in, we have archival tape, as you heard of it happening, but I'm going to be going to a dress rehearsal on Friday and actually hearing some of the performance itself. And then I got a chance to talk, as you said, to a lot of the people, or several people who were actually in the room when this happened, right?
Who'd you talk to?
So for one example, I talked to David Clem, who was a city councilor at the time. And he was actually watching this video of him talking at this hearing. He was very skeptical, and he asked some really hard questions about the safety of this and whether or not this was going to be safe. But one of the things that I think is so fascinating about his story is after this all happens, he actually winds up becoming one of the major real estate developers who developed Kendall Square. He took all these old industrial buildings that had high ceilings, and he said they were perfect for laboratory space. And he made Kendall Square what it is today.
If you can't beat him, join him.
That's kind of it. Here's what he had to say.
At the end of the day, all we did was make it impossible to do germ warfare research at a P4 level lab, and that NIH standards that were promulgated for NIH funded research were the same standards that anybody using private funding, non-NIH funding, had to use. And that became, as my real estate career demonstrated, that became the reason Cambridge became the go-to place, because the rules were established.
And I should say what those rules were, like how this wound up actually.
What was the
turning
resolution?
Out. Essentially, and Luis knows more about this than I do, what the city council decided to do was a classic move of elected bodies, is they created a committee. and the committee was going to research this. But they didn't just create any committee. They created a committee of citizens, of regular people, lay folks, to look into this and to talk to the scientists and the researchers and to come up with their recommendations. And Luis, they worked on this for months, right?
They did, yeah, absolutely. It was 75 hours of talking talking to people and 25 hours of debating afterwards. And for half a year, they were thinking it through as a nurse, a social worker, a community worker, infectious disease expert, a structural engineer. And they were chosen deliberately to be people who are not invested in the outcome and to not have particular knowledge of this technology itself, but to think about it from lots of different perspectives.
And one of the things that I think is so interesting about this story is from everybody I've spoken with, this is being held up. This event 50 years ago is held up as an example of the potential of the public involvement in scientific decision making, right? They had this very open public forum in the city council chambers, which is going to be, acted out in a play this week. And then it was followed by these regular folks just doing the deep dive and learning about this research and coming up with their recommendations. Ultimately, what they recommended, and Luis, correct me if I'm getting this wrong, is they said we should go ahead with the NIH guidelines. There was a couple additional protections that Cambridge had that the NIH didn't, but because it's different from just saying, Cambridge saying, we're just going to go with the NIH. They had a public process with real people who looked into it and said, yes, this is okay. We'll go with the federal guidelines.
And nobody knew that was going to happen, right? The hearing itself was experienced. Even Science Magazine reported that it was a circus. And so the kind of epic thing that happened there of people testifying for and against, you got 500 people cramming in, 4 different TV crews are there. There's audio being piped to the outside for people who can't fit in the space. The idea that you would result in a thoughtful process of citizens reflecting over many months of what the outcome should be, that wasn't obvious from what happened on that night on June 23rd of 1976. So, and they had another meeting in July. There'd been a lot of lobbying behind the scenes then, and that's when they kind of created this Cambridge Experimentation Review Board to try and think their way through. Here's an unprecedented moment. The politicians are having to figure out what do we do and how do we solve it. And this is what they invented and what they came up with. And now we remember it as being this kind of remarkable moment, and we wonder if this is a model for other places or not. And the mayor was all over this. This was, he went immediately to the National Conference of Mayors and told them, everyone is talking about Cambridge now. He said, we got millions. He said millions of phone calls and, hundreds of letters about this. And so there's a lot of coverage about this in all sorts of media and not just in the Boston area.
But it's interesting to me to think about the mayor's perspective on this thing, because he came out very staunchly against this research. He said we should pause it for 2 years.
He's saying Frankenstein, right?
But in the end, what he did, in a way, kind of backfires on him, because the result of this hearing and the result of the decision that came as a result of that positions Cambridge to become the major leader in this kind of research, right? To become the world-class research
the biotech
center
powerhouse it is today.
Exactly. And that's what I heard from a number of the people that I spoke with. As you know, certainly David Clem, like I said before, who developed the real estate. But I also talked to a guy named Philip Sharp. Now, Philip Sharp was in the audience that day. He didn't testify, but he was in the audience. At the time, he was a young MIT professor. He'd only been there for a couple of years. He would go on to win the Nobel Prize for his research using this kind of recombinant DNA technology. And he went on to found the company Biogen, just a huge giant in the world of biotech. And, he talked about locating his company in Cambridge and why they'd made that decision. Here's a little bit why he said this was the perfect place for them.
We have cures for disease now that we couldn't have dreamed about without this technology and without this whole biotechnology development. And because of the visibility and the high tech and the reasons that Biogen flourished here, Harvard, MIT, the hospitals, the medical schools, the wonderful intellectual community, it's created a high-tech community in Boston, which now spreads to AI and everything in biomedical medicine.
Because essentially, the rules were set. He said you could go to some other place and it wouldn't be quite clear if you'd be able to do what you wanted to do. Or you might have to go through
a whole dog and pony show like they did here and have hearings and have the local council say, well, we're not so sure. So all of a sudden, the roadway's clear. And I love these moments, and you sort of talk about them as big turning points. It's not always clear that they're big turning points at the time. And, today it sort of feels like this idea that Cambridge is the way Cambridge is feels inevitable, but this reminds us that it wasn't.
That's right. To imagine that, a bunch of of folks in opposition and deeply concerned about this would get the mayor's attention and have this hearing, and that would turn into the foundation for predictability that would lead to the emergence of the Kendall Square that we know today. Nobody would have seen that coming.
So, Louis, what's your role? There's a lot of stuff, as we've pointed out. There's a theater production going on. There's a symposium. What's your role in all this weekend?
So I'm a historian of science. I kind of live a lot of my time in the 70s, and I knew that this anniversary was coming up, and so I approached the MIT Museum, and I was like, I think we have a great opportunity here, and they were super excited. They connected to Central Square Theater, and they were working with Patrick Gabridge, who's the playwright of Plays in Place, and the ability to put this on in Cambridge City Hall is, I think, just a super special,
super cool,
remarkable thing to bring that history back to life. So my role was kind of realizing this anniversary was coming, and then being the one who's like, here's another great quote, or let's do this, or I remember that moment when the mayor is saying, is it true in the history of science that scientists have ever had accidents? Question, and then he goes on, and each one is punctuated by question. And so to make sure that we get that in the play, and we have those kind of amazing moments, or when Clem is asking one of the scientists testifying, just what do you think you're going to do if something does escape, right? And so I think the play is going to bring this forward and really bring it to life for a lot of people. And I think one of the things we really wanted was to make sure that the play stuck as closely as it could to the original hearing itself. And people will, I think, have many different things they take from it. There's a lot of different positions that you might have before you attend the play, and a lot of things that are going to be echoing your head afterwards. Yeah.
One of the guys who's going to be one of the characters in that play is somebody named Jonathan King. He was an MIT professor, and he testified in favor of regulations for recombinant DNA research. He had some real serious concerns. It wasn't just members of the public who were concerned. He was a professor who was concerned as well. Here's one thing he said at the hearing.
If you have a committee of people charged with protecting us from the danger, and these people are willing to get up in public and say there's absolutely no danger, there's nothing to worry about, the facilities are super safe, the bugs won't make you sick, well, that is the last person that I am willing to trust in terms of my health and my danger.
I had a chance to talk to him about this, and he told me that the scientists who testified and said that everything was 100% safe, they were really being disingenuous, that they were heavily invested in the research. They didn't want regulations to stand in the way of them making a ton of money. In the end, though, he says the hearings ensured that the research moved forward safely. And this is one of the things I think is so interesting about this, that people on different sides of the issue who are coming at it from totally opposite viewpoints can look back at this moment and say, this was a good thing that happened. Here's a little bit what he told me.
This was definitely a positive outcome that we got some level of regulation. I would have liked it to be stronger, but the fact of the matter is that those regulations were a step forward in terms of, public health and safety and occupational health and safety. And certainly they didn't stop our colleagues from becoming millionaires and billionaires and an enormous industry developing.
We are right now in 2026 in a time of technology that is taking a huge leap around us that not everybody is 100% sure is safe. We are in a time where we are grappling with the role of government and regulation when it comes to business and science. We are in a time when people in the tech space are making millions and billions of dollars. I mean, there's a lot when you look back at this time that is resonant for today. As you look back at this, what should our takeaway be in 2026? Is there something instructive here?
For sure, and that's exactly what we wanted to take this moment to explore. So on Friday, we're doing an all-day symposium, and we're starting off with the 76 hearing, and then going into an eyewitness panel where we have Jonathan King and David Clem and Harvey Lodish are going to be joining us, telling us what it was like. And then we're going to pivot to right now, today, and we're going to bring in some of the experts who are working in some of the most interesting areas in synthetic biology today and in AI, and having them talk about what are the responsibilities of experts who have that technical knowledge to kind of raise a concern. And another panel after that, who should trust whom? What does it mean to have a governance process that is fundamentally going to be about relying on some people who know some kinds of things and people who know other kinds of things? And where does scientific responsibility and political responsibility intersect, right? Yeah. So those are another thing we want to focus on. And I think for a lot of people, there are things happening today with AI, with data centers, with what is the connection with the public that is going to resonate for lots of folks. And then experiences like this, how do publics get to hear about these stories? How can they think with other cases about the stuff that's mattering today? And so our final session is going to be with the playwright and with some podcasters from the Science History Institute who made a piece called The People versus Recombinant DNA. And we're going to talk about how do we retell this story? How do we bring it and make it fresh and alive for everybody? What are the choices that we make in representing that so that it can be a resource for us to think with today?
All right, we've been speaking with historian of science Luis Campos, Baker College Chair for the History, Science, Technology, and Innovation at Rice University, and GBH's Craig LeMoult. Thank you both for being with us.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
If you want more information on that stage production happening this weekend and next at Cambridge City Hall or Luis's symposium on Friday, check out the MIT Museum website. You can get more there. After a quick break, summer can be a time for rest and relaxation, but it turns out humans, we're pretty bad at it. One species that is not, gorillas. We will see what the gorilla can teach us about rest and butt scratching. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. This is the Curiosity Desk. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Jared Bowen. Today on The Culture Show, Veronica Robles brings Latin America to Symphony Hall. The mariachi singer and founder of the Veronica Robles Cultural Center previews Viva Latino America 2026. And Lisa Simmons joins us with a preview of Rock's Film, New England's largest festival for films by, for, and about people of color, at a time when their stories are being deliberately sidelined. That and more on The Culture Show today at 2 on GBH 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And Gentle Giant Moving and Storage Company, offering local, long-distance, office, and piano moving with 23 locations throughout New England and across the country. More information at gentlegiant.com. And Modern Pest Services, providing integrated pest management for Boston homes and businesses. Modern Pest uses a prevention-first approach to seasonal pests to help target the source of the problem. Learn more at modernpest.com.
You are listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. For many, summer is a time for slowing down. The kids are out of school. It's peak travel season. Some workplaces opt for early releases on summer Fridays. But humans, and perhaps Americans in particular, are not the best at resting. The art of literally doing nothing is something that gets relegated to a day on the weekend. If you're lucky, maybe an hour a day during the week. If you've ever needed a vacation from your vacation after walking 20K steps on a day in Europe or Disney World, you know what we're talking about. But other species that we share the planet with are much better at taking time to rest and recharge, and one of them is the mountain gorilla. So we're wondering, should we be taking a page out of their jungle book? Joining us to talk about what gorillas can teach us about rest is Jennifer Verdolin. She's a wildlife behavior researcher and associate professor at SUNY Empire in New York. Jennifer, welcome to the Curiosity Desk.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So gorillas, good at resting? That's the bottom line here? They're good at it? And what makes them so good at it?
Well, they're better than good. They're pretty phenomenal at resting. And it's one of the things I immediately noticed when I started studying gorillas was how much they rest. And for them, rest is not leftovers to be stocked up for the end of the day. It's actually woven into their whole daily rhythm. And that's one of the things that I think is the biggest takeaways about how they do rest and how we can improve our rest.
So how do they do? I mean, what does rest look like for a gorilla?
Okay, well, if you followed a gorilla family like I do on a daily basis.
Casual gorilla following?
Casual gorilla.
No
I mean, they
big.
know that. Yeah, no big deal. You'd see these long stretches of what looks like loafing around, grooming. You mentioned the butt scratching. So there's lots of scratching themselves, scratching each other. The kids might be playing and adults are just sort of being. And this is, interrupted by periods of activity. So there's like a morning feeding effort, right? They get out of bed, but they don't just like leap out of bed. I'm actually watched them get out of bed, and it's a pretty slow process, maybe, 10, 15, 20 minutes to get things moving.
Well, you're speaking my language. I'm starting to feel a little validated here because I feel like it is a long process for me to quote unquote wake up in the morning. And now I feel like, okay, that's not so bad.
Oh, yeah. I think why I'm attracted to studying mountain gorillas is that it really reflects my rhythm, too. So there's this big effort in the morning, which we might consider sort of our initial work day period. And then there's a distinct midday rest, right? They've fed and now they have to kind of process all of that. And they rest and then they get up again and begin the next afternoon sort of push of quote work, making their living. And even that coming out of rest into work is not quick. There's a gradual process of resuming activity. And then they wind down in the evening and build their nest every night, a new nest every night.
So they build a new bed every night?
They do. They do.
That's cool.
Yeah. And they seem pretty comfy. I mean, I've never laid in one because it's, it's a little bit
Because it's
dirty.
theirs. It's not yours. And
Well, right. It would be like a weird sort of Goldilocks place, right?
yeah. You're listening to the Curiosity Desk. We're talking with wildlife behavior researcher Jennifer Verdolin about how gorillas can teach us to chill out a little better. Well, when you watch this, I mean, it sounds like, in human terms, we would say they've got a pretty good work-life balance, it seems like. Like as you say, they're getting stuff done when they need to, but they're kind of resting along the way. When we watch this and see other species do that, is there stuff that we can take away from it? Is there something they are modeling for us that we can say, like, hey, we can do this too? Or should we look at them and say, like, no, they're gorillas, they're not humans, it's different. They're living a different life.
Okay, well, I mean, they are gorillas and they're not humans. They are one of our closest relatives, but that's not why they make sort of a good model for this. I mean, there are some human cultures that follow this kind of rhythm. But I would say contemporary society has turned rest into a reward for productivity, or worse, that we're supposed to cram rest into a weekday or weekend or a vacation. And that's like eating all your food on Sunday.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, when
I
you
mean,
put
that
it
you
that
need for
way,
the
it
week.
does sound insane. Yeah.
It is a little bit. And then I see also so the way I think about this is, gorilla rest looks like dozing, some grooming, quiet social time. And human rest, what we're doing wrong, even when we think we're resting, is we're scrolling, we're looking at the news, we're watching television, we're on social media, which you might think is rest, but neurologically, what we know is that it's keeping your brain on alert.
Yeah.
And that is not rest. The other thing that I think gorillas teach us is that gorilla rest happens, as a family unit, as a social kind of time. And in order for a gorilla to rest, they have to feel safe and secure. And I think that for humans, even when we are emotionally or financially secure, thinking about sort of our needs and how they're met, we still don't rest.
Yeah.
And so, kind of thinking about rest is not being lazy. Rest is not just this term self-care. It's something that we need to think about as individuals, as families, as co-workers, and as communities.
Listen to the Curiosity Desk. We're talking with wildlife behavior researcher Jennifer Verdolin about how gorillas can teach us to rest a little bit better. How do animals avoid burnout in a way that it seems humans do not? How do gorillas do it? Is it just they just listen to themselves?
Well, I think that's one thing. And the other thing is, their whole lives are built to minimize chaos, drama, aggression. And, they're very different than our other cousins.
They would never come up with
chimpanzees.
reality TV is what you're saying. It's just not in them.
No, because, right, being a social species, which we are as well, you have to minimize conflict. It's very energetically expensive. If you've ever had a lot of conflict in your life, whether it's at work or at home or with a friend, you know how tiresome that can be. So these periods of rest that they often do together, even if one individual, maybe they didn't get enough food in the morning, they might still be eating a little bit on the fringes, is to build that sense of stability. So we need stability in order to rest. And if you're, it's that same idea of if your environment is chaotic in your house, your mind is chaotic. And so if your social environment or your work environment is chaotic, you really can't shut off. But even if we're stable, we are scrolling, we are watching, we are doing and not resting.
All right, that's Jennifer Verdolin telling us to think to ourselves when we want to get some rest, ask, what would a gorilla do? Jennifer's work is studying gorillas, and his work is not just with the gorillas, but with all sorts of things, all sorts of ways animals can teach us. And you can check out her audio course and workbook, Reconnect with Nature. Jennifer, pleasure to have you. Thanks for being with us on the Curiosity Desk.
Thanks so much. It was a pleasure.
Coming up, as any avid biker will tell you, keeping your gear in working shape can be a hobby unto itself, and finding a good place to bike can sometimes be quite a task too. So if you are a biker who could use an expert's ear, do not change that dial. Ask the Bike Repair Expert is next here on the Curiosity Desk. Don't go anywhere.
When you need medical care, instead of a doctor, you might see an advanced practice registered nurse. But in some places, strict regulations lead some of these nurses to move to other states, limiting healthcare access, especially in rural areas.
When you tether people like that, it prevents expansion into those underserved communities.
I'm Elsa Chang, Restrictions on Nursing, on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Native Plant Trust. More than 125 years of commitment to protecting New England's native plants. More information about how using natives can help mitigate climate change at nativeplanttrust.org.
And New England Recovery Center, providing inpatient addiction treatment in state-of-the-art facilities located in Westboro, Mass. Learn more at newenglandrecoverycenter.org or by calling 1-877-MY-REHAB.
You are listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. Well, nothing says summer like dusting off that bicycle, strapping on a helmet, and hitting the bike path. Until you realize you haven't pumped up your tires or lubed the chain in months and the bike path has trailed off into traffic. 'Tis the season of bike riding and bike maintenance. So we thought we would check in with two experts who can answer your questions and mine about where and how to fix up those two-wheeled vehicles and where you can take them once you do. So here's the number, 877-301-8970. You can give us a call, you can give us a text, 877-301-8970. Are you thinking about buying a used bike and you want some tips? Do you have squeaky brake and you're not sure how to fix it or where to fix it? Do you want to start commuting to work on that bike, but you're feeling a little unsafe and you want a pep talk? This is the time to call, 877-301-8970. Joining us now in studio, we have Traci Laichter, Assistant Director at Seaport Transportation Management Association, that's TMA, where she oversees commuter programs and runs the Bike Seaport Repair Series. Also here is Jay Diengott. They are a bicycle program manager at BU Cycling Kitchen. PQ, Traci, welcome to the Curiosity Desk.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us today.
All right, PQ, as we're waiting for the phone calls to come in, and by the way, that's 877-301-8970, call or text. I want to ask you, what is a bike kit? What is a bike kitchen?
Gosh,
it's a cool name.
This is my favorite question. Side note, I was in fact a chef for a number of years, so it feels very full circle to come back and be running a program called a bike kitchen. But bicycle kitchens are spaces all over the world that are typically volunteer run for folks to come in and learn how to work on their own vehicles rather than you coming in and dropping your bike off and somebody says, here's what you need, I'm going to do the work, give me your dollars. They typically are donation funded spaces where you can come in and you get some amount of hand-holding. It might be as little as, here's your stand, here's some tools, good luck. Or in the case of my space where I have a lot of students who have never interacted with tools before, we really hold their hands through diagnostics, running from the front to the back of the bike, and teaching them how to interact with each part of the mechanical systems on their vehicle and how to make them feel safe and comfortable so that they can commute on or off campus.
How much sort of the folks who come in, like, is it common that they are, is there a fear factor when they're first walking in terms of like, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do this? I mean, I find people, especially with mechanical things, can sometimes feel intimidated in a way that, I don't know that they need to be as intimidated as all that, but I wonder if, do you see that as...
I think you're right. There's a big, I would say, generational gap in tool use.
Yeah,
and if you didn't have somebody at home who had tools, you may never have interacted with them before. So my job is to kind of break that down, introduce people to the basics and show them from as simple as, here's how to pump a tire, maybe nobody ever even showed you that, to here's a more complex bicycle-specific tool, and we're going to walk through this together and demystify it. And at the end, my students are so excited because they didn't realize that they could take ownership over a device that they've possessed. That might be a first for them. Lots of things just aren't so repairable these days.
Yeah. Traci, I'm going to get to you in just a second. I want to learn a little bit more about what the Seaport Transportation Management Association is all about. But first, we're going to go to the phones. We've got Rebecca in New Hampshire who's calling. Rebecca, welcome to the Curiosity Desk. What do you got for us?
Yo, I was just thinking about how I want to get on the road to bike, and then your voice came on the radio. I am so afraid to ride my bike on the road, and I was hoping for a pep talk.
Okay, so you have heeded the call for a pep talk. Traci, you want to take that on a little bit? What if somebody's just, they want to do it, but they're just a little afraid? What would you say to them?
So first of all, I'd say this is probably a better question for PQ than
Okay,
me.
So we're going to turn to, well, what would you say before we go to PQ?
But I can at least give some resources.
Go ahead.
So if you're in Boston, for example, and some other cities have this too, there's a resource that you can look at called the Bicycle Stress Map. And that will tell you what streets in the area, and this has every street in Boston.
Oh, wow.
And what infrastructure it has. So if it has protected bike lanes, then it's nice green street. If it has just regular bike lanes and it's maybe not protected bike lanes, that might be yellow. And if it's what they call a high stress area, then it's going to be red on the map. And you can always start with the low stress ones to start. But from that, I really think PQ would be better at answering this particular question.
PQ is going to weigh in, but first I want to ask you, Rebecca, where are you biking, and what is the thing that is like, what is it that you are afraid of? Are you in a city? Are you in a more rural area? Give us a little sense of it.
So I'm from Somerville, Mass, and I would have never biked in Somerville when I lived there. And now I live in Keene, New Hampshire, which is probably lower stress. But yeah, I'll be like in a more, suburb type spot. I have a mountain bike, a K2 from when they made bikes. I'm very excited to use it. But yeah, it's kind of scary. Where do you learn the rules of the road? Is there a resource for that?
Okay, so what do you got, PQ?
So the League of American Cyclists is a really great resource for learning the rules of the road. They've got good learning portals online. They may have league certified instructors in your area teaching a variety of classes. I know that at least here in Boston, the city of Boston teaches different levels of learn how to bike on the road classes. What I typically recommend to people is to think about what the off hours are when people maybe aren't driving as much and start riding then.
I think that's great advice.
Shorter trips.
Yeah.
We'll see, especially in other countries that are more cycling friendly, folks will start by using their bikes to take recreational trips, or they might replace one errand with a bike trip and then go from there, sort of working their way up to longer or more complicated adventures. Also, see if you can find a friend to ride a bike with you. We tend to be braver together. And there are probably group rides in your area that you might be able to join as well.
All right, there you go, Rebecca. I feel like that was any of those ringing true for you? Feeling like you could take one of those and put them into action?
Absolutely. I will absolutely see if I can find a friend and what task I can replace. And I might go to Amsterdam. So thank you.
All right. Well, there you go. Thank you, Rebecca. PQ, changing lives here on the Curiosity Desk right away. Okay, Traci, tell us a little bit about the Seaport Transportation Management Association. What's it all about? What do you do?
Yes. So we are a very small nonprofit, obviously based in the Seaport. And our existence is basically to make getting in, out, and around easier. And so there's a lot of different transportation management associations around Eastern Massachusetts, the greater Boston area. They're all over the country. And we generally are funded by businesses. And so in the Seaport area, we're funded by businesses in the Seaport. And what we do is make it easier for their commuters to get through. And our goal really is to reduce single occupancy vehicles. So people driving by themselves to work, because that, leads to a lot of traffic, leads to just general congestion. It leads to, air quality dropping. And so what we try to do is prevent these things before they happen, essentially, by advocating for stronger infrastructure, for offering free bike tune-up programs, which we had this morning, as well as, implementing ferry service, which I love ferries. It's another little fun one.
Okay. Well, when we do our ferry repair segment, we'll have you on for that one as well.
I'll be wearing full scuba gear.
Okay, perfect. We got a couple of texts. So just kind of get your takes on these. We've got this one. John on YouTube is saying, please remind riders to use bike lanes and stay off the sidewalk. Too many cyclists are still on the sidewalks, even on streets with protected sidewalks. What do we make of this? Why do we think this happens? I'm going to guess this is often a safety issue or at least a perceived safety issue for bikers too.
So bicycles are legally allowed to use sidewalks everywhere except for central business districts or where it is clearly marked. Wow. That being said, with all micromobility devices, there can be such a big difference in speed that some riders may feel more comfortable and confident and protected by the height differential of being on the sidewalk than they are in the road with cars. I think it is more important to remind cyclists to behave predictably, whichever part of the road they choose to use, whether that is sharing a lane with cars, using a bike lane, or a sidewalk, to be aware of their surroundings and people that they're sharing those spaces with. So if you have a young child, you may not feel comfortable or confident in having them take the lane with you. I certainly don't love having my nephew's bike behind me on Mass Ave. Right. So we're going to use the sidewalk. We just have to be mindful that there are pedestrians there. And the same thing if you're using a multi-use path, a rail trail, there are other cyclists, there are dogs, there are pedestrians. We need to really modulate our speed and be aware of our surroundings.
Yeah, and I'll add to this one also. This is kind of with the new e-bike bill that Maura Healey just proposed.
Tell us about it, yeah.
So essentially, if anyone's been around the Boston area, there's been a lot of mopeds. And
a lot
of them. Making a lot of deliveries for like Uber Eats and that kind of thing. And there's not very much regulation. And so you'll end up finding like it hits a point where there's like motorcycles in the bike lane, for instance. Yeah. And that's a speed issue because, you don't want to be riding your 15 mile per hour bike and there's a 50 mile per hour motorcycle just running past you. And so this bill essentially is classifying what falls under what tier. What is an e-bike? What is a moped? The different tiers and what you're allowed to do with them. And so it hits a tier now, and now it's actually classified in this bill that if you're over a certain mile per hour, you can't use the bike lanes.
Yeah.
And so it's the same with sidewalks, with bike lanes, with everything. It's just speed is the big factor.
Yeah, that's the big factor. You listen to the Curiosity Desk. We're talking with SeaportTMA's Traci Laichter and BU Cycling Kitchen's PQ Diengott about the importance of bike maintenance, and we're just talking bike stuff. So if you got a bike question, give us a call or a text, 877-301-8970. That's 877-301-8970. Interesting text here, and I wonder your take on this because I feel like, the city of Boston and certainly a lot of the cities, the municipalities in and around greater Boston have put a lot of thought, time, money, talk, conversation into trying, at least to varying degrees, to make biking a little bit easier. But we have a text here from somebody who says, used to ride all over the city, but cell phone use, pot smoking while driving, combined with very random bike lanes and car lane switching, they feel like the city is less bike friendly than it was 15 or 20 years ago. What do you make of that? Is that something you hear, or would you say your experience is different than that?
So I've heard... I have a next door neighbor who's in his 80s, and he's been riding his bike around the area his entire life, essentially. Yeah. And he's the only person I've heard from who told me he is not a fan of this new bicycle infrastructure. And when I talked to him about it, essentially he was saying, like, similarly, it's like if you're in the lane with a car, You know where you're going, as opposed to trying to like go off onto a bike lane over here, like dip into traffic here because the bike lane ends. He's the only person I've heard from who says that. I wouldn't be surprised if the older generation who's used to not having all these bike lanes would agree with that. PQ and I were chatting earlier, and one of the things I hear the most from cyclists about what the issues are is the bike system is not very connected.
It's not,
There's a lot of
cohesive.
breaks in it. You're going to have to dip into traffic at some point where, maybe the ownership of the land changes. This is something in the Seaport where this happens, where you go from a protected bike lane into like a shared lane. And you have to kind of dip in and out, and that can be stressful for a lot of people. Some people just choose not to use the bike lanes for this reason. And I think perspective would be different, or opinions would be different rather, when that is all connected, where you know exactly where you're supposed to be at what time.
Yeah.
And then drivers are also aware of what cyclists are doing.
I would definitely agree that the lack of predictability in bike infrastructure, depending on where you're headed, can leave people feeling really frustrated and unsafe about riding. There is a class of cyclists, we would call them vehicular cyclists, who would in fact still, I would say myself included, oftentimes prefer to share the road with cars. Like I said, those are more predictable lanes. I understand more or less what the vehicles around me are doing, and I'm less worried about weaving in and out of maybe a slow cyclist or a door lane, because where the bike lane has put me, there are scooters parking in the lanes. There are people who just aren't paying attention, so they're walking their dogs or they've got their strollers, and there just hasn't been enough education around how these spaces should be used, and it's tough to really get that out there to people.
Listen to the Curiosity Desk. We're talking with SeaportTMA's Traci Laichter and BU Cycling Kitchen's PQ Diengott about bike maintenance, bike stuff, bike issues. If you got something you want to weigh in on, give us a call or a text, 877-301-8970. We're going to turn to the maintenance thing. PQ, this one's for you. We got a text. My brakes seem to be taking a longer time to stop my bike. Is there anything I can do for this before I take it into a shop?
Gosh, that's a tough question, not knowing what kind of bike you have or what kind of brakes you have. That being said, one of the first things that we do to address slow brakes in the shop is to put a little oil, specifically a bicycle lubricant, on the metal cables, those wires that run inside your black or other colored housing between your brake levers and your brake caliper arms.
Those are the brake cables?
Yeah. So you've got those cables that run between your brakes, your levers, and your calipers. And the same thing with your shifting. We have people give those a little bit of lubrication, kind of floss the cable through so it's traveling a little bit more smoothly. And that can do a lot for getting your brakes to move a little more smoothly. Just like if you touch above the stove and that hood's a little bit sticky, oil can get weird as it ages.
Yeah.
And your brakes can be a little bit sluggish.
All right, that's good advice right there. We got some more text coming in. Billy in Belmont says, I think e-bikes are the most dangerous vehicle on the road. I spent quite a bit of time in Brooklyn, New York, and the delivery drivers are doing 30 miles an hour on an e-bike, and it's deadly quiet. Same on the rail trails. Thoughts?
So this is similar to what I was saying before with the new e-bike bill. We really need a classification system that's clear to people. And that's all based on speeds, right? So 30 miles per hour here would be classified as a moped or even dipping into some motorcycles. And they're not safe to be on like shared use paths.
Yeah.
And so that's just a fact. And so I think the classification system is really important to have.
Is there anybody that's sort of arguing for the side of no, I'm on a 35 mile an hour e-bike, I ought to be able to use the bike lane, or is this one that most people do agree on, and it's just like until somebody says don't do it, you're like, wow, this is convenient, I'm going to do it.
So I've never heard from someone saying they disagree with it. That said, I definitely talk to more cyclists than moped riders, and it might be a different situation depending on who I'm talking to.
Gotcha.
But I've personally never heard anyone disagree with it.
I think a lot of that use has to do with incentive structures behind the folks who are riding a lot of these kinds of vehicles. And again, more education around uses and consequences of these kinds of analog versus e-device interactions.
PQ, question for you, just generally speaking, just on a maintenance question. What's kind of, this time of year, if people are just getting out the bike for the first time, like is there like a baseline, hey, here's something you ought to do every, month, week, whatever, just to keep the bike in running order? What's kind of the very basics? Go ahead.
Everybody that walks into our shop, we tell about what we call the ABC Quick Check.
Okay.
So
say more.
A is for air. You check both of your tires. Your tires will say how much air they should have in them. If you don't have a pump with a gauge at home, your local bike shop does. You may have a nearby municipal pump. Otherwise, push on your tire until it feels firm. Squishy tires are more liable to catch flats for a variety of reasons. B is for brakes. We want to squeeze each of our brake levers individually and make sure that both of them are working.
Okay.
If you squeeze them both at the same time, it can be hard to tell. If your brake levers are coming real close to your handlebars, it's time to figure out how to tighten them. You may have the ability to tighten them without tools, using something called a barrel adjuster that you can find at your brake lever. Or you may need to take them into the shop or get your hands on a set of Allen wrenches. C is for chain. We want to check and make sure that your chain is not dry and rusty and squeaky. Again,
so a dry and rusty chain is bad, you're saying?
We like when people can hear you coming, but ideally we want to get that from your bell, your horn, or your voice, and not from the bike that you're riding. So we advise people to oil their chain about once a month, or if they've been out in a heavy rainstorm or ridden through big salty puddles, we'll advise them to oil their chain. And then the last thing is quick. It's not just because this should be a speedy 30-second check, but most bicycles have quick releases on their wheels, and we want to make sure that those quick releases are in a closed position so that your wheel doesn't vibrate off your bike while you're riding it.
Which would be good. All right. Well, sorry we could not get to everybody's calls and texts. We've got a bunch that we're going to have to leave there because we are out of time. We've been speaking with Traci Laichter, Assistant Director at Seaport Transportation Management Association, where she oversees commuter programs and runs the the Seaport Repair Series, and Jay PQ Diengott, Bicycle Program Manager at BU Cycling Kitchen. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you very
so
much.
We're going to turn now to the Boston Public Library and Jared Bowen. Jared, I know you're an avid runner. Are you a biker, a bicyclist as well?
I take the blue bikes all the time.
Oh, really?
Around Boston, I do, yeah.
Excellent. I was thinking about that. You also can ride a horse, too. And then I was like, if I were Jared, I would commute to work on a horse rather than a bike. That would be cool.
Well, in an ideal world, I would happily commute on a horse every day, but I don't think that's very practical here in Boston.
That's a fair point. What do you got on the show today, Jared?
So we have a very big way to kick off the show with Veronica Robles. We're going to have mariachi.
Ooh, yes.
We're going to have dancers. She has a very singular performance, and she's brought many other performers with her today, so it's going to be super fun here at the library. And Lisa Simmons is here to talk about the 28th annual Roxbury International Film Festival that takes us to Paris, takes us into unexplored stories. And then Steve Mailer is here to preview this year's Free Shakespeare on the Common. It's a fun one this year, A Midsummer Night's Dream.
That's a fantastic, speaking of fun ones, that's a great show coming up. That is Jared Bowen and the Culture Show in about a minute and a half, so don't go anywhere. That about does it for us for now, though. The Curiosity Desk is produced by Aidan Connolly, Rachel Armani, Olivia Corcio, Hannah Loss, and Nicole Garcia. Patty Daniels and Jamie Bologna make sure we always wear our helmets. Our engineer is John LeClaw Parker. Special thanks to Andrew Massawa and Angelica Marrero. We will be right back here in 23 short hours. If you can't wait that long, we got a podcast. Check it out where you get your podcasts. Till next time, I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Stay curious out there.
What's trending? What's interesting? What's going on around town? We're talking all things arts and culture on The Culture Show, next on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Polar Beverages, family made since 1882. Founded in Worcester, Massachusetts by Dennis Crowley, offering a range of flavored seltzers, mixers, and dry sodas. Product information and locations at polarbeverages.com. Josh Groban is back with a warm and intimate concert set against the backdrop of London's historic Union Chapel. With his most beloved songs, he'll raise you up when you tune in. It's great performances tonight at 7:30 on GBH2.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston, winner of 4 regional Edward R. Murrow Awards. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH. What matters to...
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Culture Show news desk, I'm Henry Santoro. Boston is one of the most walkable cities in the country, and there's no better way to see it than with Boston by Foot. It's a local nonprofit made up of folks who love to teach anyone who wants to learn the history of Boston from a multitude of angles. If you're new in town for the World Cup, on behalf of all of us here at GBH, welcome to our city. This is right in your wheelhouse. Samantha Nelson has served as Boston by Foot's executive director since 2012, and this year is their 50th year.
So yes, we are celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. We were started in the American bicentennial, and of course now we're celebrating our 250th. So we're celebrating our anniversaries with the United States. Our founder was a woman named Polly Flansburgh, a really charming, charismatic woman. She's fantastic, and she had a vision. She really wanted people to better understand the city of Boston. And she wanted people to tour the city and really get to know the built environment, get to know its stories, the stories the buildings can tell us.
Nelson says Boston by Foot offers something for everyone.
We have pretty close to 100 different tour titles that we offer. And that includes tours that are, of course, of the historic downtown. We have several different ways to tour the Revolutionary history, including a tour that's for children and families, Boston by Little Feet, one of our most popular tours. But we have tours on all kinds of topics, on literature, literary history. We have tours on social history, infrastructure, architectural styles. We have tours in most Boston neighborhoods, a goal to get to every neighborhood before Boston turns 400.
Nelson says a typical tour lasts about 90 minutes, with some tours being mobility friendly, and tours are limited to about 15 to 20 people, but private tours are also available. You can find them at Boston by Foot at the Boston Public Library.
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, Viva Veronica Robles. The mariachi singer, cultural organizer, and founder of the Veronica Robles Cultural Center is bringing Latin American culture to Symphony Hall. She joins us to preview her cultural center's annual showcase of music, dance, and visual art, with more than 150 performers celebrating traditions carried across generations and borders. From there, it's screen time. We preview the Roxbury International Film Festival, New England's largest showcase for films by, for, and about people of color. This year's lineup arrives at a time when their stories are being deliberately pushed out of public view. Even so, independent filmmakers are telling them in full through features, documentaries, and short films. And frolicking in the forest, misinterpretation, romantic entanglements, all with a heavy assist of magic and all under the moonlight. This is Shakespeare's most popular rom-com, A Midsummer Night's Dream. Commonwealth Shakespeare Company is bringing it to Boston Common this summer to mark their 30th anniversary of Free Shakespeare. That's all right now on The Culture Show.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
I'm Jared Bowen, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. This is The Culture Show, and this is... We are listening to Veronica Robles and her all-female mariachi band. For years, Robles has brought mariachi to stages across Boston and beyond, ever since she was first immersed in the musical tradition as a teenager in Mexico City. But her work here has gone well beyond performance. In 2013, she and her husband, musician and producer Willie Lopez, founded the Veronica Robles Cultural Center in East Boston. Since then, it has become a home for folkloric dance, music, visual arts, youth programs, and community celebration. A place where Latin American traditions are taught, shared, and passed on. Now, the center's annual showcase, Viva Latino America 2026, is headed to Symphony Hall on Sunday afternoon with more than 150 performers celebrating Latin American culture through music, dance, and visual art. Here with both a preview and a performance is the one and only Veronica Robles. I couldn't wait to finish this introduction and just get to talking to you because you bring so much energy every time you're here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you at the Culture Show. And thank you for allowing us to let everybody know about this upcoming show.
Well, this is so exciting. You always fill every single room you're in. We're here at the big library. You're doing that again here. But tell me what you're going to do at Symphony Hall.
It's. I would like to say that it's a statement of love and partnership. And having our community that lives here performing on that grand stage, right? Their own cultures from 12 countries represented in Latin America. The little ones as young as 3 years old, and the little ones I'm telling everyone 75 years old, dancing their cultures. And also we inviting local talent that are here also doing their work, promoting their own culture. So sharing that space in collaboration with the Boston Symphony is something magical. Is something that the message out there is what we should be doing. Love conquers anything. Like we can all work together to fix what is wrong, but with love. And this is, I think, one of those moments, a milestone in Boston where we can show that we can all work together, come to one place where it's a traditional place where classical music and world-known artists that is open up the doors to our community. Come as a family with the children. They don't have to dress up. If they have something that wanna show up, this is the moment to do it. A flower, a shirt, a hat, whatever they wanna bring. And again, this is for everybody to enjoy, whether you are Latino or not Latino, you have a family that is from Latin America, or you've never been exposed to it. Come, we will receive you with open arms.
And so for all that you just said, and I know the way you construct things, and this is about culture writ large, and this is about society, that this isn't even necessarily a quote-unquote traditional performance. It's more than that.
Exactly. It's a cultural experience. It's not just that you're going to be sitting there watching a show. You're going to sit there and witness the work that we have been doing throughout the years and every day in a class with the parents involved in the community. And again, it's that experience that you don't feel it that way in another place. I think this is the time and the place to do it. Plus having this range of different colors and sounds again in one place, I think that's the magic of this event.
Well, how do you anticipate Sunday and filling that big hall with all the sound and the color that you've just described?
Anticipate? Yes. So I anticipate that people will be cheering up, and that as long as they see the little one, it's because when you see the children involved and how their faces show you the love and the excitement of performing there, and I'm anticipating people crying. I'm anticipating people with their flags coming to feel that pride. I'm anticipating people who never been in Boston Symphony Hall that will always wanted to go there, because people think sometimes that it's too expensive. They don't know if they can. This is what I get from the community. It's like, I don't have a special, outfit to go there. You don't have to have a special outfit to come to the Boston Symphony Hall. And people love classical music too. You will be amazed. We have work in collaboration with the Boston Symphony. The Pops have played at Veronica Robles Cultural Center in the heart of East Boston. We have a packed house. Like, people came from work. They were crying because they never thought that they would be able to listen to the orchestra right there in their neighborhood. And now coming to the Boston Symphony Hall is something that I am anticipating will be a beautiful experience for some people that would never have come to this place if it wasn't for this. And I'm hoping that they will come back to enjoy the orchestra, to enjoy the Pops, and to enjoy other, well-known artists and musicians from that come to perform in Boston.
So you're a gateway drug to culture, is what you're saying right now. so we have, speaking of performance and speaking of little ones, I have some right to the right of me for people who are interested in seeing them. Of course, we're streaming on our GBH News YouTube channel. You're about to perform the first of 2 performances today, which I am so excited about. Tell me about what you're going to do right now.
So we have some of our, I call them my stars. We have Pamela, Sandra, Hazel, Sarah, and Martina. They're going to perform a dance from Mexico of the many other dances because they are cultural ambassadors. They dance music from Chile, from Cuba, from Brazil. So all of those countries you will see. And they are the example of how to pass on the traditions. And also one day, even if they don't become big stars, they will have in their memories that they perform at the Boston Symphony Hall. So let's cheer them up and give them a round of applause so they can dance El Jarabe Tapatío.
All right, we're going to have our performance now, and as they get ready, again, I'm speaking with Veronica Robles, the founder and director of the Veronica Robles Cultural Center in East Boston. We're talking about Viva Latino America 2026 happening this Sunday afternoon at Boston Symphony Hall, and here is a preview. This makes me so happy. Look at all the people here at the library watching this too. This is incredible.
Thank you.
What does it mean for you to have, we just got into this a little bit before, but to have these young kids participating and carrying this culture forward?
I think this is important because it gave them self-esteem. And the fact that they've been performing, because many of them, they started like 4 or 5 years old, and then they become young ladies or gentlemen when they are 17, 18, and they carry all that experience of being cultural ambassadors, and that will give them the tools that they need, the social skills, to continue their career with that pride and that love for the community, because they're not only dancers, singers, or artists, but they are also community activists with love. So, and that's I think empathy and love. That's what makes me be in this world of promoting cultures, because I think that's what we need in this world.
What did you take away from this when it was your grandmother, right, if I have this correct, that who introduced you to culture and to dance and mariachi in Mexico City? How did that begin to change your life?
Exactly that, because when I put on my hat like this and I put on my wardrobe, and that makes me feel secure of who I am and where I am coming from. And that's exactly what I want to show and support the parents that are trying to raise their children in this world with a lot of information. So with this, we keep them out of the phone, out of the iPads, out of the, social media is good, but for children, I don't think it's so good. So keeping them busy, learning and performing and being networking, because they start networking as young as 3-4 years old, right? They know the mayor, they know the governor, they know you, they know the neighbors, they know everyone in the community. So I think that makes them feel secure about themselves, and that will help them to overcome any barrier. And also they get to know other people like them, look like them, that are doing positive things, like the singers that are going to sing at the Boston Symphony Hall at Viva Latino America. David Rivera Bozon is Colombian, making his way on the opera world here in Boston. We have Nicolas Enriquez, also a Mexican American singer, baritone, who's also part of the cultural center. They come and teach the kids, see them being part of this stage, because they are already professionals. They're making their way up there. And then we also have the traditional, like Efrain Martinez. He is from Honduras. He's lived here in Boston for so many years, and he's been promoting his culture. And now see him on that stage, it's like, for me, I perform with the pops and I love it, but the first time when I step on that big stage, the very first thing that I thought is like, I need to bring my people here. I just want to make sure that I was thinking that this is so beautiful and I can just keep it to myself. I have to do something to bring my community here. And then when I saw my picture right there on the hallway, and I was like this singing, and I'm like, this is it. This is a calling. Come on. So I started talking to the people, and Chad has been very supportive, and Josue, and all the people, the producers, everyone at the Boston Symphony Hall. I just want to give them a shout out because they've been very supportive, and they gave me the opportunity to bring my community, local artists that are professional. We're going to have a Colombian group that is called Una Papayera in Boston with an excitement from Colombia live right there. They're so excited about performing.
I have to ask you, did you know the extent of the community that was here, or what effort did it take to begin to identify all of the people who could belong on that stage and who had the great talent to be on that stage? This must be very invigorating for you.
Yes, so I've been 27 years in Boston with my husband, Willie Lopez, who is going to do the honors to me to sing, play the guitar and sing. We've been working in the community for 27 years, so we know everyone. We know people that,
well, you're a magnet, so it's like moths to the flame. They come to you.
And that's another thing, since we established the Veronica Robles Cultural Center 15 years ago, is that when we have now a home, so people know where we are, so they know that we're there and they come to us. And so when I had the date and I'm like, who should I call? Oh my goodness, this is so complicated. But again, I immediately thought about Efrain, who is from Honduras, who can represent their culture in a true way with that love and that passion. And that's when I started thinking about these different people. There is Monica Mosquera from Venezuela. She's a cultural ambassador of her own country, so she is going to be there. She's been mentoring some of our girls, the same with the other opera singers. We have a young boy that I taught him music, mariachi music. He's going to be singing there. He's a racing star. He sings boleros. People love boleros, and he's very young, but he loves boleros. So he's going to be there. We're going to have, and then my husband, Willie Lopez, is also playing a couple of songs with me that day because I didn't want to sing, right? I said, this is for my community, but everyone, Veronica, please, you should sing that song. So I'm going to sing a couple of songs with Willie.
You would be making a lot of people very unhappy. Yeah. I want to ask you one last quick question before you give our second performance, which is, you're wearing your costume now. I asked you just before you sat down, just before the show started, where it's made in Mexico. You carry on the traditions. That's what I'm so fascinated by today in particular, is to recognize that in this time where we're talking about so much erasure, so much loss, that these traditions are being carried forward. We just saw these young girls dance in their costumes. They're carrying along those folkloric traditions. How is it that they're able to survive into 2026?
Well, so this is part of the thing that we believe supports the people who, like, everything is a tradition passed on through generations, not only the music, but the cultural wardrobe making, right? People, if we support them, if we continue buying from them directly, we are supporting those traditions to continue back in our countries and then bring them here. And that's one of the things that people, the audience, will expect to see: authentic cultural wardrobe on stage. It's not something that just we made up that day for the show, because it's not a show, and everybody will wear it with that pride. And also there is going to be a short film viewing from another amazing classical author. His name is Andrés Ballesteros. He created this, the Five Suns. It's a myth, an Aztec myth, with animation. So people will have the opportunity to see this short film too. And again, this is multimedia, bringing, again, this is, I've been the narrator and love that project. And I said, you have to be at the Boston Symphony Hall. That's how we started to choose who will be there. I also want to mention Chile, Corazon Chileno, and we have Gemelos that they're going to do tango for those tango lovers.
You have to leave something for people to find Bolivia, when they come here.
So Bolivia, and yes.
Because I have to invite you back to the stage because you're going to perform this time.
Yes.
Yeah, because you would make me unhappy like the others you said if you didn't go on to Symphony Hall stage and perform, just like here at the culture show if you didn't perform. Tell me what you're performing.
I'm going to sing a huapango, a love song, and I'm anticipating that I'm gonna sing very loud. It's a beautiful love song, and the style is huapango, and I hope everybody enjoy it. And I would like to thank my beautiful husband, Mr. Willie Lopez, for being always there for me behind the stage. His work is not seen. Is seen through everything we do at the Cultural Center.
Well, I'll invite you over now. It's always great to see you. Thank you so much for being on the show today. And I want to point out to our audience, every time you talk about your husband, you just look at him so longingly. Clearly, you two have a very beautiful relationship, and he is smiling and laughing right now. Veronica Robles, thank you so much for being here with us today.
And just remember, I don't speak English, so please excuse me.
Hardly. Veronica Robles is the founder and our director of the Veronica Robles Cultural Center. Just reminding people, she works her way over to our studio. We're talking about this and seeing this performance in advance of Viva Latino America 2026, which is happening Sunday afternoon at Boston Symphony Hall. Once again, Veronica Robles.
Yo sé que no hay en el mundo amor como el que me das, y sé que noche con noche va creciendo más y más. Y sé que noche con noche va creciendo más y más. Come on everybody. Cuando estoy entre tus brazos, siempre me pregunto yo, ¿cuánto me debe al destino que contigo me pago? Por eso es que ya mi vida toda te la entrego a ti, tú que me diste en un beso lo que nunca te pedí. Yo sé que no hay en el mundo amor como el que me das, y sé que noche con noche va creciendo más y más. Y sé que noche con noche
The one and only Veronica Robles. Thank you again so much for being here. She's there with her husband, Willie Lopez, performing a love song. Trust me, it is your fortune to see them live and in person at Symphony Hall this weekend. Again, I was speaking with Veronica Robles, the founder and director of the Veronica Robles Cultural Center in East Boston. Its annual showcase, Viva Latino America 2026, happens this Sunday afternoon at Boston Symphony Hall with more than 150 performers celebrating Latin American music, dance, and culture. Again, you won't want to miss it on Sunday. Coming up, a visit to Paris, a trailblazing soccer star. Lisa Simmons raises the curtain on the films featured in the 28th annual Roxbury International Film Festival. Coming soon to a bookstore, museum, and art school near you. She's next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
When you need medical care, instead of a doctor, you might see an advanced practice registered nurse. But in some places, strict regulations lead some of these nurses to move to other states, limiting healthcare access, especially in rural areas.
When you tether people like that, it prevents expansion into those underserved communities.
I'm Elsa Chang, Restrictions on Nursing, on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And the Cape Playhouse in Dennis Village, now playing Nat Zigri's Mozart to Pop Chart, a theatrical concert exploring and exploding musical traditions. Tickets for Mozart to Pop Chart at capeplayhouse.com. And Mass General Brigham. In heart surgery, expertise matters. Mass General Brigham Heart and Vascular Institute performs thousands of surgeries each year and is committed to research and innovation. massgeneralbrigham.org/heart. And Rockport Music. The Rockport Chamber Music Festival, now running through mid-July, features violinist Augustin Heidelich, the Brentano Quartet, violinist Joshua Bell, and more. Details at rockportmusic.org.
From national headlines to neighborhood impact, the new GBH News app is your hub for trusted local news. Download it today on the App Store and Google Play.
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show live on 89.7 from the Boston Public Library and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. The Roxbury International Film Festival returns this month with more than 100 films, filmmaker conversations, and community events. Now in its 28th year, it's the largest New England film festival highlighting films by, for, and about people of color. This year's festival unfolds across the city with screenings and events throughout Boston. The lineup includes feature films, documentaries, and animated shorts. From an opening night documentary about pioneering black soccer star Clyde Best to a closing night drama set in Paris and starring Jesse Williams. As Rock's Film describes it, the festival is, quote, provocative, entertaining, fiercely independent. It kicks off June 18th and runs through the 26th, followed by a week of virtual programming. Joining me to talk about it all is Culture Show contributor Lisa Simmons. She's the artistic and executive director of the Roxbury International Film Festival and program manager at Mass Cultural Council. Welcome back. Great to see you.
Great
Sorry
to see you.
that you had to follow Veronica.
Is she not fabulous?
She is incredibly fabulous, but your family, and you're pretty fabulous too, so it works that you're following.
I can't sing like that. I'll have to tell you that.
No, neither can I.
I know.
Yeah, it's hard for me to even listen and understand like
Where's
that.
that breath?
I know. I don't have that capacity. I wish I did. Well, let's talk about the film festival that's about to kick off. And I always wonder, because from year to year, artistic sensibilities seem to shift and go in certain directions. As you were doing all of your screening to do the programming that you do with your sister as well, who was a major part of this, Allison, what did you find filmmakers were telling in terms of stories this year?
You know, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of films about identity, a lot of films that are sort of trying to buck that system, right, of exposure, of erasure, right? We've seen a lot of that in communities of color, especially in this environment. It's like getting rid of everything. And I feel like filmmakers are really trying to use this medium to help tell those stories, to bring them back to the surface. So like you said, we have Clyde Best's story, and it's actually screening with another film, a Bill Patterson story, who was a mentor to Bill Russell. But a lot of the films in the festival are that. They are like, no, we are here, we have been here, this is our history. Or we have, films about community and about community resilience. We have films about relationships. We have a love story that we're closing with Jesse Williams. And so, I think that people are just sort of saying, we need to raise the visibility now. We need to be more out there, and filmmakers use this medium to do that.
Well, I know that we're going to talk to the director of your opening night film next week, but I want to play a little bit from the trailer and then get a sense from you about the significance of this particular story. But this is, again, from the trailer to the documentary Transforming the Beautiful Game, the Clyde Best story, which will be screened opening night at the Roxbury International Film Festival on June 18th.
But keeping his place in the number 7 shirt is an 18-year-old Bermudan Clyde Best, a young man with exciting potential.
Match of the Day came on, and I saw a black face, and it was Clyde Best.
Good challenging by Clyde Best.
And I said to my mum and dad, I said, I want to be like him.
He was one of the real pioneers coming into the club and into English football at a very, very difficult time.
I'd like to ask Clyde the question, was he prepared for what he encountered?
Again, this pioneering black soccer star.
Who knew? This is what I mean, is raising these incredible stories and bringing them to the forefront and supporting a film like this is so important. It's so important.
And how do you decide this is the one to lead off? Because this, I guess, it sets the tone for the festival, right?
That's exactly right. And this does set the tone because it's so much about this erasure. It's so much about bringing visibility. It's so much about mentorship. He's an incredible mentor, and he's going to be here. He's going to be here with Ade Coker. He's going to be here for Q&A, and then he's going to be at the Dudley Library on the 20th to have a conversation with kids and stuff. So, I mean, it's really hard. It's sort of like, what are we going to do? Like, what is going to bring people in? And so, it's not necessarily a big celebrity, although he is a celebrity in his own right. But I think we really think about what, like you said, what is going to set the tone for the festival? What are the other films in this festival? What do we want to say? What are we trying to do? And I feel like this film absolutely does that.
Well, on the point of what you want to do, it's not unlike what I was just talking about with Veronica Robles, that this is, the whole film festival is more than just the passive experience of watching films. You've created structures for engagement.
Yes.
So there'll be 2 weeks of conversation around these films. How does that begin to unfold?
I mean, it's really exciting. I mean, I think one of the things that we talk a lot about is using film as a catalyst for conversation. And so we have sort of like bucked that whole system where, filmmakers run up in 5 minutes, they get to talk about like what they shot on. It's not about that. It's about the themes. It's about what people are making, because people make movies about what they know, right? And so if you have a really deep, subject matter, if you have a series of shorts that are about relationships, there are all sorts of things that bubble up about that. So we need to have conversations about it. We don't just want that to go by the wayside. So we build in time so you can have these conversations. We're doing a great story called Finding Your Laughter about Alzheimer's and dementia in the Black and brown community, and how this woman who made the film, she's a comedian, and she used laughter to get through supporting her mother and now her father through dementia. And she does these workshops. So we're having a longer conversation about that with the Wellness Collaborative that's going to be doing that. And so I think that's what's really important, right, is that people come. We want people to come and be entertained, but we also want them to be inspired. We also want them to be educated. So all of these films in the festival do that in some way or another.
You have a senior lunch. I'm curious.
Do.
I didn't look to see what it is because I was so curious about.
We love this.
What is
this?
It?
Is an Allison brainchild, my sister Allison Simmons brainchild. So we were trying to think about what we could do for our seniors, and she was like, she had seen something somewhere, and she said we should do a senior lunch, and I'm like, okay, that sounds like a great idea. So it's a free lunch for seniors and a screening of a film. In this case, there's 3 films that we're screening. And it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for us to give back to our community, to give back to our seniors in our community, and it sells out every year. And last year we were really lucky to be able to capture some footage and some video just of stories of these people that are living in and around the Roxbury and Dorchester area. So we want to do that again this year, just like these little clips of videos, because we need to make sure that we have that information, right? They're gone, and all of that information is lost with them. So it's our responsibility to be able to capture that.
Well, speaking with Lisa Simmons, we're talking about the Roxbury International Film Festival, which kicks off June 18th and runs through June 26th. That's followed by a week of virtual programming. Lisa, of course, is the artistic and executive director of the film festival, not to mention, as I mentioned, family here at the Culture Show
Yes,
as a contributor.
Which I love.
So this is about mentorship, too, because it's about inviting people in to experience these stories, but this is also for filmmakers.
Yes. I mean, I think one of the things that we love is that people think of us as a filmmakers festival, and that's important to us because we care so deeply about them, and to the point where we partner with Mass College of Art for their dorms as well as screening space with them to have an affordable option where people can stay. I mean, it is a dorm, but it is affordable, especially over now that we're in the World Cup, but to get as many filmmakers here as we can, because we want that every night there's something happening so that filmmakers and audience members can come together. They can break bread over, somewhere and have a conversation and be in community with each other, learn from each other. And I think that that's one of the most important things about film festivals. to be given that opportunity for them to come together. And so yes, it is about community. It's about, we started basically to help support local filmmakers.
You started with, sorry to interrupt you, but I never realized this until I saw it in my research this morning, a $5,000 grant. You built this out of
so Candelaria
$5,000.
Silva, who was with Act Roxbury at the time, God rest her soul, was with Act Roxbury and time, and Elmer Freeman, again, someone else we lost not too long ago, sort of like said we should be doing a film festival. Michael Trent and I had started The Color of Film a year before, and they came to us, and we all said, yes, let's do it. $5,000. I think we had like 12 films. We're at Northeastern. I think we had one film at the Museum of Fine Arts. We're 104 films over 3-4 venues. We're in Dorchester now at Just Bookish. So it is, and it's exciting, right? It's exciting that 28 years we've been sort of like doing this, and what it's exciting to me is also like the script reads that we do, the local script reads that happen at noon every day. We have all these wonderful actors that are here in Boston. We have these incredible writers, local writers, and they get to have their scripts read and get feedback from them, and it's just wonderful. I mean, it's just wonderful to offer that opportunity in any way we can to help those stories get out into the world.
You have, as you said, you spread across the city, adding a bookstore here.
Mm-hmm.
What's the significance of that, of being really as far and wide as possible as you can throughout Boston?
I mean, I think because you don't want to necessarily be just centralized. I mean, it is obviously the Roxbury International Film Festival, but we have those connections in other spaces and know that those spaces work. And Just Bookish was perfect because they had already set up this sort of screening space that was being curated there with Portia and Paloma and Bing. And we used to work with Bing over at Haley House when we did Dinner and a Movie. So it was just a natural progression to do that. And we do stuff throughout the whole year, right? I mean, this is our signature event, is the film festival, but we are in all sorts of other different places and spaces, like with Shared Stories with Cinefest Latino and Boston Asian American Film Festival in the spring. And so we're going to continue this Alzheimer's series also with the Wellness Collaborative into the fall, because we know how important this issue is for caregivers. You know this. And so it's so these are the things that we sort of like lock into and say, these are the kind of ways that we can use film to help move the needle, to help people talk about issues and things. Yes.
Well, these issues do not get talked about enough. Well, we should probably end the conversation where you end, which is going to Paris, and I am.
This is such a beautiful film.
Just reading about it and seeing the slightest bit of it, this looks like a gorgeous film. It's called Montmartre. It takes us to this fabulous neighborhood in Paris, home of Toulouse-Lautrec and romanticism.
People know, right? And again, another way for us to let people know that these things are out there.
So this is a romance.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about
this.
It's starring the very staggering Jesse Williams.
Oh, yes, exactly.
I last saw him on Broadway in Take Me Out, and he was, what a star.
Yes. It's just a beautiful film and talks about this space in Paris, and it's a love story, right? It's sort of like, what do they say? What was that show, Beyond Sunrise? After Sunset, yes.
The Sunset Trilogy.
Sunset Trilogy, right? It's sort of like that, and it's nice because we need this, and it's also to say we don't live in a vacuum. We're not a monoculture, right? There's all these different things. There's all different aspects of people of color. It's not just necessarily what you see on mainstream TV and in the news, but there's a breadth of things and people and situations out there that are happening. And so this is one of those where it's a love story. It takes place in Paris. If you didn't know that this place existed for Black artists, come out and see it, because it's beautiful. And the filmmakers will be here.
And it's a great way to get to Paris, especially now.
Yes.
Lisa Simmons, great to talk to you one-on-one.
I know.
I mean, I love our Weekend Review show, but it's nice to just sit down and talk every once in a while. It's great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
The Roxbury International Film Festival kicks off on June 18th and runs through June 26th, followed by a week of virtual programming. To learn more, go to roxfilmfest.com. Lisa Simmons is the artistic and executive director of the Roxbury International Film Festival. She's also program manager at Mass Cultural Council and a Culture Show contributor. Coming up, fairies, fools, and bewitched lovers take over Boston Common this summer as Commonwealth Shakespeare Company celebrates 30 years of free Shakespeare with a Midsummer Night's Dream. That conversation is next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
Starting Thursday, 48 countries will compete for athletic glory and soccer's most prestigious trophy.
It's like the ultimate form of bragging rights for your country, and it's not like you have bragging rights for a year. You have bragging rights for 4 years.
Our World Cup coverage bringing you all of the top news and stories on the pitch and off. Hear that on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And the Boston Symphony Orchestra, presenting classical soloists, popular artists, and a week of programs curated by Yo-Yo Ma amid the Berkshire Hills at Tanglewood. More at tanglewood.org. And Native Plant Trust, more than 125 years of commitment to protecting New England's native plants. More information about how using natives can support pollinators at nativeplanttrust.org. And Bunker Hill Community College, offering 6-week summer mini-sessions to achieve college and skills goals. Sessions start June 1st and July 13th. Registration is open. bhcc.edu/summer.
Local isn't just where you live. It's your friends, your teams, your culture. Local means you. Trusted local news. GBH 89.7. GBHnews.org. And streaming on the GBH app.
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show, live on 89.7 from the Boston Public Library and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. Love denied, love thwarted, love also confused, betrayed, and redeemed. It's all at the heart of Shakespeare's romping rom-com, A Midsummer Night's Dream, made even more adventurous by playing out in a topsy-turvy tangle in the woods. Now the Bard's most popular comedy is set for a Technicolor twist. In the guiding hands of Commonwealth Shakespeare Company, this summer audiences will be transported to a neon-lit escape where the forest works its strange magic on lovers, fairies, and fools alike. A Midsummer Night's Dream comes to Boston Common next month as Commonwealth Shakespeare Company celebrates the 30th anniversary of free Shakespeare on the Common. Founding artistic director Steve Mailer directs this year's production, and he joins me to talk about it all right now. Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thrilled to be here.
Well, 30 years. How are you taking stock in this big moment?
I started the company when I was 15.
Yeah.
So
I don't mean to laugh because it's totally true.
No, it's really quite extraordinary to look back on all of this work that we've done over 30 years and think about the lives that we've impacted, the artists that we've launched, the audiences that we've cultivated. 1.5 million people have seen free Shakespeare on the Boston Common, and that's kind of staggering when you think about it. Kids have grown up. Now they come to the show as kids, and now they bring their kids to the production. So it's really very, very special to be in the heart of the city doing these iconic stories for our just audiences that we cherish so much.
Well, of course, it would be a very, very big decision to decide what to present on the 30th anniversary. How did you land on A Midsummer Night's Dream?
Well, as it happens, we started the company with this production of this play, at any rate. In 1996, my friend Joan Moyna and I had this crazy idea that Boston, if it's going to be the Athens of America, should be like every other city and have free Shakespeare on the Boston Common. So we set out to raise a very small amount of money to try to test this idea out. Actually, the Parks Department pushed us to Copley Square that year because the Parkman Bandstand was under massive renovation. So we did 4 performances in 96 of A Midsummer Night's Dream, and that was the launch of the company.
And for people who maybe it's been a while or maybe they've never encountered it, how do you describe A Midsummer Night's Dream?
Well, it's really a play about young kids who are kind of being constrained by their parents and the power structures inside their society to marry who they want, who they don't want to marry. So it's these kids run away to the forest, and for us, we always find this sort of contemporary and vibrant and alive way of thinking about these plays. So for us, the idea was they were running away to Coachella, or they were running away to Burning Man. And so a lot of the inspirations for our forest are really drawn from the sort of vibrant artistic vibe and that sort of sense of escape and freedom that something like Burning Man represents.
What was Shakespeare getting at with this forest and this enchantment and the fairies and all of the shenanigans and everything that happens? And I ask that in light of the fact that There have been, of all of Shakespeare's productions, I feel like, at least in my experience, you find Midsummer being the biggest springboard for all manner of interpretation.
Absolutely. One of the iconic ones was Peter Brook, who did it with a set of white walls and swings. That was the entire set and the entire production. We've done it now 3 times, I think. I think this is our 3rd pass at it. But I think for me, it's really about love, and it's about trying to define yourself and find and define love as you want it, not as other people want you to be defined by. And it is, a great, great comedy. There's fantastic comedic characters in it with some of the best comedic actors in our town working with us, which is super thrilling. But it's just a great, great way to introduce Shakespeare to young people, to families, and to young audiences. Our audience tends to be much younger than a typical theater-going audience, and we really love kind of bringing these plays to life in a kind of unexpected and fun and playful way.
Over the past few years, you've occasionally turned the director's chair over to someone else, but you've come back for this one. I was curious about that decision, to want to dive right back into it.
Yeah, I think for me, as I kind of look to the next phase of the company, I really am very focused now on setting the company up for long-term success. And part of that success is having a great core of directors who can do this work out on the Boston Common. It is a very unique job to do. There's no ceiling, there's no roof, there's squirrels.
There's always a motorcycle.
There's always a motorcycle. There's helicopters. I remember one year calling the tower at Logan Airport saying, "It's opening night. You've got to stop that flight path over my
Did you
set."
really?
And they did. That was the big shock. They actually moved the flights.
I think only you and the President of the United States can change flight patterns.
Maybe there was a Shakespeare lover in the tower that night, but no, it's a very unique environment, and you're teching in the middle of the heat, you're teching in the middle of the night, it rains, but once you get it all together, and you see 5,000-10,000 people gathered around the stage on the Boston Common, just leaning into these plays and enjoying these plays and discovering these plays. It's just such a ravishing experience. One of my favorite experiences of CSC and Shakespeare on the Common was many years ago. We were doing Hamlet with Jeff Donovan as Hamlet, and Pedro Pascal was playing Horatio for us. And I remember coming up on the site late at night, and the play's a long play, and you're out there at 10:45 o'clock, 10:40, 11, and the play's just ending. And there's this final image, of course, of like Hamlet being cradled by Horatio dying. And you could hear the gasps in the audience of people not knowing that that's how the play ended. They didn't know that Hamlet died at the end of the play. And to be able to tell these stories at scale, to be able to re-democratize Shakespeare has just been an incredible joy for all of us. When he wrote these plays, he wrote them for everybody. And what's happened is that over the years, these plays have become elite, or they become very expensive, certainly to attend. But our vision is to bring that sort of wild, crazy democracy back to these plays, where people walk through and yell at the stage. It's happened before. Somebody was very upset with Lord Capulet berating Juliet to the degree that he was berating Juliet in Romeo and Juliet some years ago. So he stepped up on the stage and took him to task for that.
The stage.
He did. Yes, that happens.
I missed so much by coming only to opening night where everybody's really well behaved. You jogged a memory. I first met you when you were doing Hamlet, because I remember talking to you, and this was years ago.
Jeff Donovan was our amazing Hamlet.
I was 7 when I was starting out as an arts reporter doing these stories. Yes. Yeah, Jeff Donovan was Hamlet. I didn't realize that Pedro Pascal was also in that production.
He was our Horatio. He was a scrawny kid just out of NYU, I think, at that point. So broke, he was struggling like all young actors do, but miraculous, and what an astonishing career he's had. So many of us have share with great pride that he was at the Cape doing shows at the Cape as well as a young actor. But he's just one of many people. There's this beautiful story that we love to tell about an actor named Kai, who was brought to the show as a very young child. His mother was convinced he was going to fall asleep. He stayed awake through the entire production. Come to find out later, he decided he wanted to be an actor. He went to Brown and trained at the Trinity program at Brown, became an actor for us, and is now touring in the public theaters, touring Shakespeare Project in New York City. So just like these moments of touch points that you just have no idea this is happening, because every night there's 7,000 people out there, 7,000 stories, 7,000 people discovering these great plays for the first time. It's a real gift to us, actually, to be able to do that and have that be our job.
I want to remind people that I'm speaking with Stephen Mailer, the founding artistic director of Commonwealth Shakespeare Company and the director of this year's A Midsummer Night's Dream, celebrating the 30th anniversary of Free Shakespeare on the Common. It'll start on July 22nd and run through August 9th on Boston Common. As I mentioned, it is free. Donations very much welcome. On that point, 30 years is a long time to be carrying the arts forward, especially when your whole motive is built around free admission. What is the key to your success? I know you've had rocky moments over the years, but especially in another moment of funding loss, how have you made it work?
I think, for all of us, honestly, it's just a patchwork. And we all have struggles, whatever the size of our organization is. It's just a different number of zeros at the end. But I think for us, we are so driven by the audiences that we serve, and to be able to be out there and see people from all walks of life who many of them simply would never see live theater or never see Shakespeare if not for what we do. And I think we've had incredible support from so many people over the years, incredible support from the city, incredible support from the state, wonderful foundations and individual support. We have a great board. I mean, all this stuff that goes together, it feels like it's a moment in time out there, but it's a full year of activity, planning and work and fundraising to make those 3 weeks happen on the Common. But it is a struggle. There's no question all of us are struggling. But I think all of us are just so deeply embedded in our missions and serving the public. I believe my career is a career of service. I fundamentally believe that. We teach our young artists who are working with us that this is a career, not of vanity, not of egocentrism, but a career of service. And that really is our kind of our North Star. That's what guides us and keeps us on that track forward. We're very committed to fostering the next generation of audiences, of course, on the Common, but also the next generation of artists and artisans. We have launched I take no credit for launching Pedro Pascal's career, but we were there at the beginning with him and with many others. Great designers, great directors that are going on to great success. And so that's a real point of pride for us.
Well, on that point, this will be the second time this week I asked this. I also asked this of Jane Eaglin, the Grammy-winning opera star who was on with us earlier this week. It's the Timothée Chalamet question now. Here, when you have this actor saying the classical arts don't matter, he was specifically citing ballet, I think it was, in an opera. And here you have roster after roster of young actors just thirsting to dive into Shakespeare. Why is that?
I think to me, Shakespeare is one of these sort of rites of passage in some ways, and it's something that if as a young actor, if you can grasp how to manage this material, you can do August Wilson, you can do Susan Lloyd Parks, you can do Arthur Miller, you can do the language, the skills that you learn from grappling with this language that's 400 years old and figuring out how to bring it to life, how to infuse it with energy and life and vitality. That's what you have to do with great writers and great writing. And so it's just a perfect skill set. And it's also what's amazing about Shakespeare is you keep coming back to these plays. And of course the plays have stayed the same, but you've changed and you see different things in them as you mature and you have different life experiences. And that's what makes the material so ravishing to work on, is that it continually surprises you. I'm really excited about Midsummer because I'm going to be discovering it again and discovering with a new group of people who will bring new ideas to it. And that's the power of this medium, is this collaboration of great minds coming together and advancing the narratives as a collective. It's quite a special thing.
Well, I love the fact that you've basically described having a rave on Boston Common every night for a couple of weeks this summer. That's going to be really fun. We'll talk about how all that goes later on. Steve Mailer, always great to see you. Good luck getting the show launched this year.
Thank you so much. Thrilled to be here with you.
Steve Mailer is a founding artistic director of Commonwealth Shakespeare Company and director of this summer's A Midsummer Night's Stream, celebrating the 30th anniversary of Free Shakespeare on the Common. It runs July 22nd through August 9th on Boston Common. It is free. Donations very much welcome. To learn more, to visit their website, comshakes.org. Well, thank you for listening to another edition of The Culture Show. Tune in tomorrow for a delicious show. James Beard Award winner Dory Greenspan has been trying to crack a chocolate mystery. Of all the Katharine Hepburn brownie recipes floating around the internet and the New York Times, which is the real one? Plus, how I played a wee bit of Dr. Watson to her Sherlock Holmes while on the case. Thanks to Henry Santoro for curating our Culture Cast. Today's engineer is Dave Goodman. The BPL technical and logistics crew is Maddie Geyer, Bill Francis, Sandra Lopez-Burke, Juan Jose Cadena, Chris Hanks, Patrick Lally, and Matthew Glover. Also thanks to the Lennox Hotel, the Newsfeed Cafe, to everyone who came down here to be with all of us today. We love seeing you. Thank you so much. If you ever miss us here on the radio, check out the Culture Show podcast. I'm Jared Bowen. Have a great day.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.